lips, skin for your skin, sin for your sin, eyes for your eyes, lips for your lips, skin for your skin, sin for your sin. Feel it down, 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 down. Think about it later. Feel it down, 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 down. Think about it later. Feel it down, 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 down. Think about it later. Feel it down, 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 down. Think about it later. All I ever wanna be is eyes for your eyes, lips for your lips, skin for your skin, sin for your sin.
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Airthings.
Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game and get paired with players from around the world fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.
Hi everyone, I'm Grandmaster David Howell. One of my favorite chess books in the world is The 7 Deadly Chess Sins by Jonathan Rowson. This book explores common disasters made by chess players, as well as going into the details and the reasoning behind such mistakes. For today's segment, we will be looking at the first sin, thinking. Now, thinking might not sound like a sin, but if you're thinking in positions that don't actually require thinking, or if you're overthinking, that might lead to blunders. This is a position from the first season of the Champions Chess Tour. Magnus Carlsen, playing the black pieces here against Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, did make a mistake. He committed a sin. He thought in a position where it wasn't required. Black's queen is under attack, as we see here. From the white rook, the queen needs to move. But here Magnus tried.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Chess 24. This is the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour. Now we are in for a thrilling day of chess, as this is the final day of the preliminaries. We started with 16 players. It's going to be down to just 8 at the end of the day. We've got just 3 games, and looking at our leaderboard, it's going to be stormy weather here at the Airthings Masters. This is where we are at. Jan Napomniachtchi's got a 7-point lead, so he is safe. He's in fact the only player who is already through to the quarterfinals. Now, apart from him, pretty much everyone starting from the 2nd place up until Pragnananda with 15 points has a shot of getting into the quarterfinals. Nobody is safe. It all comes down to how these players play in the next 3 rapid games. And that's what happens when you have a scoring system where you get 3 points for every win. You can't just draw your way into the knockouts. Magnus Carlsen, Vladislav Artemiev, and Vincent Keymer need to win at least 1 game today to secure their spot into the quarters. Anish Giri, Eric Hansen, Andrei Asipenko, Ding Liren, Nordebek, Abdusattorov, Levon Aronian, Leko Tania, and Prag. It can just turn around pretty much any which way. So it's everything to play for in this final day of the Airthings Masters. How's everyone doing in chat? Let me just bring that up. A big hello to everybody who's joining us on Twitch and on Chess24, as well as on our YouTube channel. Now, as usual, Peter and I have to pick our MasterCard Priceless Game of the Day nomination. And it was kind of a tough fight because there's so many amazing battles throughout the day and we have to just pick one. So it's never easy, but the one that we chose, it has such a beautiful gameplay, but also involves the brutality of chess. It just shows how difficult chess can be, that you can play an amazingly flawless game, but just one oversight and just one inaccuracy and everything that you worked for towards goes down the drain. So chat, I do have you guys in front of me, so hello to everyone. And the game of the day, let me bring that up really quickly. This is always struggle time for me, and it's this one right here. Nordebek Abdusattorov taking on Ding Liren was the game that impressed us the most, simply because it was just a stunning game. And even the idea in the end, the defensive resource that Ding Liren shows, just oh my god. And I'm going to take you guys through it really quickly. It started with the English opening. There we have it. We're all set to go. And just typical stuff out of the opening. I'm going to go through it really quickly. I'm being told this is some kind of a reverse Rossalimo. And also, fun fact, this structure is called the Botvinnik structure. Whenever there is the Botvinnik triangle, whenever we've got these 3 pawns, apparently Botvinnik really like to play these positions. And it continues. Ding Liren, this is all theoretical. And I think the first point, which I thought was very interesting, this move, rook to b8 by Ding Liren. Now here the point is, it's sort of hard to understand why he played this move. The b7 pawn isn't attacked, but it's kind of prophylactic for a lot of reasons. White might go bishop g2, which he did, and at some point put pressure on this pawn after pawns are traded once black gets in f5, which is the whole plan that black has. Plus, after rook b1, anyway, we'll need to defend this pawn. So rook b8, a nice little prophylactic move. And as you see, black's first plan here, chat, get f5 in, try and open up the f file. And that's what Ding Liren works towards. So knight h4. Now, of course, you don't want to play f5 when you're forced to trade off the bishop. So he continues executing the plan with knight to e7. And after bishop g2, now rook b8 makes all the sense, because black can simply trade the pawns on f5, and ta-da, b7 is defended. Bishop f5, shot castle. Now it's part for plan 2 in this game for Ding Liren. Chat, tell me, in such positions, which is white's key defender? Which is the piece that you really want to trade as black in this position? Let's take a look if chat can quickly guess it, because then that kind of shows and makes sense of every single move that Ding played after this. All right, so I see that light square bishop, that is correct. Well done. This is the piece that kind of holds white's position together. And now the moves that Ding Liren made are directed towards trading that off. You want to get the bishop to h3. Well done to Arnab and Nature and Bipad and Octomancer. You guys are in form today. So bishop e3, b6, and now he trades first because you definitely don't want to allow any kind of queen trades. So first taking care of all the stuff that's going on in the center. And like you guys pointed out, Ding went for the trade of this key bishop. Now it comes to part 3. Plan 3 is simple. The one inactive piece in the game is the rook on b8. And now Ding wants to get that piece into the game as well. So knight f6, getting it in, and rook e8 captures the open file. Look at the synergy between the pieces. You've got the queen on d7, you've got the 2 rooks which are on the open file, the bishop on h3, just beautifully played opening and middle game stage. White is trying to create pressure and play on the queen side, but really there isn't much substance in that. And this is when things start getting interesting. Now Ding goes for the other idea of transferring the knight to a key square, where he can start taking advantage of the light square weaknesses. Knight jumps to g5, and there is a cool trick. I'm going to ask you, chat, really quickly. Let's say that white made a bit of a non-move here. Let's make a move like rook b2. You'd never play this, but what was black's idea after this move? Let's see if you guys can guess this one. What does black want if white wastes time? Absolutely, Gangster Yoshi. Ding is pretty gangster when it comes to these kind of positions. Hell, you'll see why he didn't trade before connecting rooks. Okay, I'm getting some suggestions. So the whole idea, I think you're absolutely right that black wants to get in knight f3, but you have to time it really well. And the whole point of this was, yes, Lorenzo, you trade first, and after king g2, you give a check. The king, it doesn't matter where you go. Now the knight jumps into f3, and there's no defending the mate on h2. So that was a sneaky little threat after knight g5, which is why Nodebek, trying to find resources, goes f4, making sure black doesn't get in the knight to f3. Now with all the weaknesses on the light squares, change of plan for Ding. He says, you know what, my bishop is super important. I'm going to move it back. Don't need to trade no more. And the knight jumps into h3. King h1. And this is a Paquetto which in full swing. We've got the king trapped onto f1, h1, completely boxed up here, and black decides to double the rooks. I just love how Ding kept improving the position of his pieces. Nodebek literally hanging by a thread, but keeps the game going. And it just looked like Ding played a flawless game. h5, getting the pawn into the attack as well. Well, queen could have taken the knight, but there was a rook on f8, which would have taken the queen. And after queen d3, you trade. The queen comes in, and we see this brilliant knight on h3, the edge of the board, but it's just completely boxing up all of white's forces. Everything under control, and now it's all about Ding finding a breakthrough. You see how his rooks are placed. This rook attacks the bishop. White's one rook is defending it. This rook attacks the pawn. The other rook defends it. It's just a very difficult position for white. And black continues to build the pressure, keeps the doubled file, defends the a7 pawn. White tries to bring the king. Black's only piece that's not playing, the king. That comes into play. It's almost like a step-by-step instruction, this game, on how to play, well, flawless chess. And so far, so good. But this is where things start getting really interesting. Now g5, and Ding is saying that this knight has done its job here and wants to bring it to f3 now. So he finds the way, because on f3 it attacks the rook as well as white's weakness on h2. The rook defends it. All of this was absolutely fine. Black is doing great in this position. Rook h2, simple idea. You want to take the pawn. Too many weaknesses. Often this happens when you're the attacking side. You can shift from one place to another. So we see that sometimes black chooses to attack the c4 pawn, sometimes the h2 weakness. So you've got more space, and that's why it's so difficult for the defender to keep everything in control. Rook d4, and now white played the brilliant bishop d6, which actually at first sight feels like a blunder, because rook d1, wait a second, this falls into a fork. And this is the fun bit. Here, Nordebak found a defense, a resource that even the engines fail to find at first go, because it just is so creative and it involves material sacrifice, which one can't even think of actually. He simply makes the move, gives a check, and he can't move the rook away because the h2 pawn is hanging, and he gives up the rook with the move king to g2. It's unbelievable. The idea is very simple, that black's king on f6 actually has no escape route, and once you win the rook, which you have to go for now that you've given up the d6 pawn, the perpetual is unavoidable. And I've never seen a defense like this, chat. Peter and I were both so shocked with this position that black's king has no escape route, and he just keeps on checking the king. So you sacrifice a rook, and in a position where your opponent has got 2 rooks and a knight, the king's got nowhere to hide. And this was exactly, Arnab, it was a stunningly beautiful draw, a little bit of a heartbreak for Ding, because he just played such an amazing game. And I think such fighting chess, Nordebak was throughout, but when he got that one chance, he really managed to take it and showed absolute creativity in holding on to that half a point. This was absolutely amazing chess. This one is our MasterCard Priceless Game nomination, but now it is all about day 4, the final day of the preliminaries. And one more time, let's take a look, chat. Let's talk about our standings and see what's the action that we've got going on. Now, I want to ask you guys, where do you think there's going to be a switch up at the end of the day? We've got 8 players who are going to make it through. Let's say Jan's in. Who do you think will go from the bottom half to the top half by the time we get through to the preliminaries? And to talk more about that, let's welcome Peter Leko. He's with us. Hi, Peter.
Yeah, hello Tanya, hello everyone. Yes,
how are you doing?
This is the day. This is the judgment day that we have been calling always. The 3rd day of the preliminaries. Now it's the 4th day. Yeah, this is the new schedule. Well, super excited, knowing what's in store for us, what's in store for the players. I mean, with the 3-point scoring system, really anything can happen today.
Peter, did you manage to speak to Vincent? Because it's a really big day for him. Currently, as we can see in the standings, he's looking good to qualify, but it's not clear yet. He's currently on joint 2nd with Magnus. And I think he at least needs to have a 1 win or 3 points in the system to make sure he makes it. How was he feeling about this upcoming day?
Well, I mean, I just told him to try to forget everything and to focus on the games. It's very easy to say, very difficult to do. I know it exactly. But I think that this is the only way. Yeah? If you think about how many points do I need for qualification, it will not add up. It will not work. There are just way too many guys. Way too many guys ready to join in for the battle, for the qualifying spots. You have to go step by step, game after game, move after move. And already the very first game against Praga gonna be an incredible big fight. I mean, these 2 youngsters, 2 young guns know each other very well. They had some incredible battles last year in the Challengers Tour, which Praga won, but Vincent has also won a couple of events and qualified. Both of them qualified here from the Challengers tournament last year. Yeah, it's a sensational matchup. And we know that Prague, of course, with white, definitely going to try to grab the initiative.
It's going to be all about grabbing the initiative, because in these time formats, it's not so much about material imbalances or going for positions which seem solid or openings which are conventional, but really about posing maximum troubles to your opponent. You were speaking about, Peter, how anything can happen. And I think the one player who showed us that yesterday was Artemiev. Few would have thought that he would jump into the race for the knockouts, but he had such a phenomenal performance. Out of 4 games, he won 3. He was on his his way to win the fourth game as well, which ended in a draw, and he finds himself at the top of the table. And that just goes on to show that with this scoring system, really everyone's in the race and it's everything to play for. Let's get our matchups on the screen for this upcoming round and take a look at the action that's coming up in just a few minutes. We got Hans Niemann. Now, the tournament started really well for Hans, but we've seen a bit of a collapse on day 2 and day 3 by him. He's up against Artemiev. And Peter, because this is our final day, I'm going to ask you also to make some predictions considering the kind of action and the way the players have been playing and their form. Now, while Vladislav Artemiev struggled the first few days, for Hans, it was the other way around. He started off really well, but it's not gone that great for him yesterday and on day 2. What kind of chess are you expecting on this game?
Well, I mean, in every game I'm expecting very, very big fights. But actually, I was very, very curious that how all this event is happening because, okay, we have the 3-point scoring system and then we keep on talking like Artemiev had an incredible comeback yesterday. I was wondering to figure out what his really routine was like in the tournament. And the point was that he started with a loss against Magnus in the very first game, which was one of our nominations for Game of the Day in this beautiful endgame technique for Magnus. And after that, he had a couple of draws and then he started winning. But because draws are not giving that much, so might one get the impression that, he was not in shape. No, actually, a part of this loss against Magnus, he's doing very, very nicely. I think he has over a +3 score if we are taking the classical approach. So he's doing very well. And yesterday he had this incredible jump with the scoring system, but he's already playing good ever since this loss against Magnus. Well, Hans, yeah, exactly. I mean, at the beginning, he had this fantastic start. He had the momentum. And how dangerous it is to lose the momentum, with this scoring system as well, that suddenly you see the other guys are jumping and you are stuck there. I think it's quite hard on your mental state, because you want to do catch up and then the other guys are running forward and you are back there. You want to take more and more risks, but maybe you already lost this balance and then you get over aggressive and keep on losing. I actually believe that those guys who didn't perform so well and maybe they have nothing to lose already in the tournament, they will be very dangerous today. This is what I feel. I actually believe that Alexandra will score her first point today. I don't know against who, but the pressure on the other guys is much bigger. She can just chill out like, okay, I have nothing to lose. I have now 3 more games. We have seen that she was close in a couple of games, but she didn't manage to score. I think today is the time.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to that, Peter. Now, the chat is really looking forward to one matchup, which is between 16-year-old Prag and 7-year-old Vincent, and they're playing against each other. Now, Vincent, of course, he is on 5th position. Prag needs to start winning some games, and he will also be in the race. So for both these youngsters, this is actually a very critical game to start with.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a stunning pairing. I mean, for the very first game, because also we spoke about this, that it's impossible to prepare for 2, 3, or 4 games, but basically you always try to put most focus on the very first game, because if you play that game well, it will set the tone for the rest of the day. You will be then very happy if things go well. And that's why the first game is of essential importance. And for Prag, of course, if he wants to qualify, he really needs to win this game. On the other hand, this also gives Vincent the chance. If Prag gets over aggressive, then with the black pieces, you can also counter it nicely. Definitely, it's going to be a bloody fight.
Wow. And then the other matchup, I think now this is between the younger generation, the ambitious debutants of the tour, but look at this one between the 2 big heavyweights. Levon Aronian taking on Magnus Carlsen. This one always promises to be a thriller. But Peter, given the tournament situation, I think it might be a little bit of a soft battle where both of them might not want to take too much risk at the very start of the day, at the word go, and might decide that, you know what, we're looking good right now, and maybe not to go all out in this particular game. While Eric Hansen takes on Jan Nepomniachtchi, can we just take a moment and talk about Jan's performance in the event? He has lost just 1 game so far, and that too, the very first one. After that, completely unstoppable. on fire, Peter, winning game after game. The one that he did not win were also winning positions, which because of his own thing of playing too fast, going too in too quickly, he managed to mess up the advantage. Jan looks unstoppable in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he started with this terribly painful loss to Levon, and after that he won 8 games. I mean, 8 games, and he really yesterday missed against Vincent to win, and he missed against Leko Tania win. Yeah, basically. So he's +8, and just the 2 games that we have fresh in mind from yesterday, he could be already on +10. I mean, really incredible given the field and all this fighting chess. But this is, on one hand, as you also say, yeah, it's a double sword for Jan, that he's playing very fast. He puts the pressure on the opponent. So actually, he is also cashing in big time on this strategy. However, it also comes at a cost that sometimes because of overexcitement or just hurrying too much, already not caring too much in winning position, thinking like, okay, I'm going to win this anyway very easily. And then some mistakes happen. But definitely his performance is just fantastic. I mean, if you have +7 in this field after 12 games, then we can only talk about sensational performance.
And take a look at our players on the screen. The 16 gladiators, 8 will be left at the end of it. Is still waiting for Hans and Magnus and Shark to join. Magnus, as usual, running a little late there. Now, Peter, the ones who are really on the rim of qualification, right, who really need to be careful today and make sure they can't just draw their way into the knockout. So they have to make sure to get some points. Other players who have 19 points and up to Prag with 15. So that's Anish, Eric, Esipienko, Dinglerin, Nodibek, Levon, Leko and Prag. Looking at them at the start of the day, I have to say that, you know, they don't look stressed, at least as of now. They look pretty calm, pretty in control. And it's interesting to see that, well, maybe, you know, once things start getting hot on the board, that's when the tension rises.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, also, I think it's very, very important that you need to keep a cool head. Yeah, it's. I think that also all these youngsters, like also Praga, is just enjoying this tournament immensely. Yeah, if he finally qualifies, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's an incredible bonus. But in any case, they are learning so much and getting so much experience from this tournament. There is no reason for them to really be so nervous. Yeah. In this regard, I feel like the older guys, okay, they feel like they are obliged to qualify. Yeah, so the expectation of qualifying, for example, for Levon, I think is much higher than for any of the youngsters. Of course, we have seen that it doesn't really affect Levon at all. He's playing his usual game. He's taking a lot of risks. And you mentioned that the draw would suit Magnus. Yeah, I think the draw would suit Magnus with black. But knowing that Levon will be aggressive, and here we can switch to that game, the Levon Aronia and Magnus Carlsen game has started, and we see this Rostolimo uncompromising fighting choice from Levon against Magnus. It's going to be a big theoretical battle.
Yeah, Levon has to try and get as many points as he can. I just don't know how easy it is to start off with Magnus for that, but hopefully we'll get a big fight. Magnus did mention that he's recovering from COVID, so he is feeling a little low on energy. Well, he's got to keep it going today because too much of a mess up could potentially mean that the world champion is out of the knockout stages. Peter, the one thing I noticed is that Jan has been literally wearing the same t-shirt since day one. You've, of course, worked with him. Is he a little superstitious like that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, but it's actually quite typical. Yeah, if you are performing so well, you don't want to change anything. Yeah, I mean, keep on going. Yeah, well, I mean, in a World Championship match, clearly you are coming with a suit and you are basically changing your clothes. It's automatic. But in a online event, yeah, you can just feel like, yeah, okay, for these 3-4 games, every day I'm gonna wear this sweater. This is bringing me luck. And if it works, it works. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Jan, right, who in an interview said that when you're playing well, like, don't fix what's not broken. You can keep on doing what you want. You want to wear the same clothes, fine. But if you're not playing well at a tournament, you can keep wearing or changing as much as you want. It doesn't matter. That's not going to change the result.
Unfortunately not, yeah, but we know that we are trying. Yeah, I mean, how many times after a losing game I change my pen? Yeah, that now it's time for the other one. You know, the pen in reserve.
Peter, guilty.
Yeah, I always traveled with two nice pens, and I knew that, okay, this one is the stable performer. Yeah, this is everything is fine. But if the tournament does not start well, then of course you need to substitute. And there is another pen waiting in reserve.
All right, speaking about waiting, now Magnus Carlsen is keeping us waiting for his response to this interesting move that Levon's played, e5. Peter, is this still under common theoretical discussion?
Yeah, no, this is not the current position. This is only the position that I wanted to explain first, because yes, I think already we have seen it between these two players, but there is so much finesse that sometimes the knight is already on c3, the white knight, and then white pushes e5. In this game, Levon chooses this move or the e5. You want to force this sacrifice with e5, d takes e5. I also recall Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces played it against Boris Gelfand in the World Blitz Championship from the white side. So yeah, Magnus has a lot of experience in this. And this is not the current position. Queen c7, rook e1. So white is in no hurry taking back the pawn. What he's saying that, you know what, I destroyed your pawn structure. You have all these double pawns. In long terms, the pawn on c5 is not holdable. Yeah, white will have knight e4 or knight a4 very nicely targeting the c5 pawn. And usually black tries to give back. Tries to give back some material like c5, c4 is a very thematic way of trying to deal with this structure. Yeah, that you give c4 and then after d takes c4, then you can maybe hope that this pawn chain like e5, maybe you can even go then f5, e4, open up the bishop. Yeah, of course, white will never let this happen. And so it's all about fight for the initiative. Very, very delicate position.
All right, well, we're going to come back to this, Peter. I have to say that the two kids are really going for it. I mean, what is this position out of the opening? Let's take a look at Pragnananda and Vincent Keymer. I call them kids, but they are absolute, of course, monsters over the board. In this tournament, we can clearly see that happen. Take a look at this. I'm not familiar with this position at all, Peter. How much? And I see the clock situation. For Prag, it feels like it's part of his prep, while Vincent has taken his time. So not so familiar for Vincent.
Yeah, I think that, okay, of course, if you play this line with black, you are more or less familiar, but there are so many lines. And let's take a look. Yeah, that Prag goes for e5, bishop f5, h4, h5, bishop d3, one of the most uncompromising lines. Takes, e6, knight f3, queen a5 check, also very, very standard because black wants to have queen a6. White plays knight bd2, black develops another knight, castles knight f5. So yes, basically black has a very solid pawn structure, but white is trying to use the advantage in development. So queen a6 is met by c4. Of course, white will never allow the trade of queens. He's fighting for initiative. Black plays the move bishop b4, also a very, very typical way of first developing before trying to go c6, c5. Praga goes b3. I think that this is some heavy theory. I mean, a very rare line. I think that Vincent probably knows this, but he is not entirely sure about all the finesses. Yeah, it's a super sharp position. Takes, cd5, ed5, knight f3. And this is how the players reach this strategically very, very complex position. Black is the pawn up at the moment, but king is still stuck in the center. And one of the main assets that white has in the position that black has already committed the move h5. Yeah, with the pawn on h6, with the g5 square nicely under cover, black would be perfectly fine. But with this, it's clear that even short castle might run into some knight g5. Yeah, it's not like white wants to collect the pawn on g4, but maybe after castles, white goes knight g5, and then you might have to play the move queen g6, after which you can end up in some terrible, unfortunate pawn structure, but maybe even endgame is fine anyway. So very complex, very, very complex.
Super complex. White is threatening to take on d4. And as you mentioned, this h5 weakness, and also to show the kind of different dangers that exist in the position. If you try to play a move, a developing natural looking move like knight c6, Peter, white might even have the opportunity to go e6, just strike in the center, try and open it up. And suddenly that queen on b1 jumps into g6. And this is absolute havoc in black's position. So it does look pretty dangerous for Vincent right now. Do you see a way for him to get things back into control in this position?
Well, I mean, basically he has to somehow remember his analysis. It's very, very difficult. I mean, I'm pretty sure that computer says that you make a couple of good moves and it's fine, but in a rapid play, now, for example, yeah, Vincent opted for queen g6. That do you go queen g6 or do you first castle and then go queen g6? It's so difficult to answer those questions. it's kind of natural that you try to get rid of the queens as quickly as possible, but white's knight on f3 can... Okay, let's take a look. So if white takes queen g6, f takes g6, knight takes d4, the big question is, can black play the move knight c6? Because if you can play knight c6, it's perfectly fine. I guess the question is if I can now jump into e6. Yeah, this is the key move, because just to illustrate that, if sudden... hang on, black also has the move bishop c3. Also one has to consider. Maybe it's even a very strong move, bishop c3. So hang on. So after queen g6, what does it mean? That white maybe will not take on g6, will capture on d4 immediately, or take on g6 and then first develop the bishop and not be in a hurry to recapture the pawn?
But then, for example, queen g6, f g6, bishop b2, you already have the move knight c6 with you.
Yeah, it already doesn't look so dangerous. Also, maybe a move bishop c3, but yeah, knight c6 is very, very natural. And it feels kind of solid. Now the big point is, look at this. After the move queen g6, Prag suddenly start to think. It means that probably queen g6 was not the top first or second line of computer. Otherwise, Prag would be blitzing out. But at the same time, he gets the message that, hang on, the computer did not like this. It was not the first to choice. Then there should be something. So that's why he's spending his time trying to figure out how to maximize his chances.
Oh, this is a wild game, Peter. We're definitely going to keep our eye out on this one, because a very important one for our standings for both these youngsters, and it potentially could decide which one makes it through. Now, we've got lots of action on the board. Let's jump to the tournament leader, who's playing against Eric Hansen. Now, while Jan Nepomniachtchi is safe in his race to the quarterfinals, but for Eric, another very important game, because he's in the mix, but he needs to make sure nothing goes too wrong. So if he's able to keep things under control in this one and not, well, at least not lose this game, then he really makes his position solid on his way to the quarterfinals. Peter, what do you make out of the opening outcome?
Well, this now looks very, very nice for white. I mean, it looks like white didn't do anything. However, he kind of provoked black for some weakening. Yeah, let's quickly jump back to the very start and see what happened. So it was the Sicilian, I mean, Jan probably wanted to play the pause, and it looks with e6. Eric says, no, I don't want any theoretical battle. Let me try this line that Magnus is also using many, many times, especially in Rapid and Blitz. This g3 position. Takes, queen takes d5, castles, bishop e7, rook e1, castles, b3. It looks like white is doing almost nothing, but to me, it looks quite poisonous what he's doing. Yeah, rook d1. Bishop on g2 is very strong, hitting the b7 pawn, so black is not able comfortably to develop. And now Jan feels like he should push e5 in order to develop the bishop to g4. Yeah, but it comes at a cost of very big weakening. This e6, e5 is the move that actually the structure change is what I'm not liking. That takes e4. It looks like black is getting tempos, but in fact, where is this pawn running? Not that you finally end up losing it, because the queen is kind of pinned. Of course, not so easy to unpin this knight from c3, but still, one has the feeling that this pawn on e4 is a potential target.
Very interesting. So black needs to be careful with that queen on d4 because of the discovered attack that's possible, and not so easy to defend that e4 pawn. Well, big game for Eric. We'll come back to this. Peter, one position that is super dynamic and again just catches my attention instantly is Hans Niemann against Artemiev. We've been talking about Artemiev's performance, especially yesterday. And what do you make of this? I mean, white has got these h4, g4 pawns rolling already, both kings in the center. Black has started the steam rolling on the queen side. It's a play where both players will try to play on either side. Which one do you think is going to be faster to break through?
Well, I feel that black is doing fine. I mean, Vladislav is an incredible positional player. I mean, he has this very, very nice feeling, and I'm loving the way how he reacts to this. Again, d4, d5, knight c3, Hans's specialty now, no c5. I mean, just no reason to go crazy. Bishop f4, a6. This is the standard reaction, stopping any kind of knight b5. Yeah, this got famous as the Juba variation. Yeah, e6 knight b5, forcing black's knight to a6, and Badu went on to win quite some incredible games with the white pieces. And since then, black starts with a6, stopping knight b5, and says, you know what, your knight on c3 is there, let me leave it there. I mean, in long terms, this knight might be some kind of headache, so white definitely wants to be very energetic, yeah. And we see immediately, yeah, that white is not playing slow chess with knight f3, bishop e2 development. No, it's a special position. h4, h6, knight f3, e6, knight e5, immediately jumping, and white is opening up the way for g4, g5. And immediately after c5, g4, the prophylactic move, knight f6 to d7, trying to change this powerful knight from e5. And while moving the knight from f6 to d7, now the idea of g4, g5 is much less dangerous. Hans retreats with the knight to f3. I think this is the moment when black can really feel confident that, okay, if you had to retreat, now I'm going to go knight c6, and I might slowly take over the initiative.
Very interesting middle game outcome, and both players playing pretty slow. So it's clear that they're also trying to tread carefully in this. So you were mentioning the move knight c6 or bishop b7. These are the two moves that come to mind. And white goes bishop g2, I'm guessing here. Knight c6 on the board.
Yeah, knight c6 on the board. Actually, to me, every move for black comes very naturally, but I have no idea what white is really doing. Yeah, because if you have already committed h4, g4, it feels like you want to push g5, but for the moment, rook on h1 is pinned, so you cannot play g5, hg, hg because the rook is hanging. So yeah, he goes bishop g2, but it somehow feels too slow. I mean, black has so many options, really has so many. Yeah, just developing bishop b7 or bishop e7. It feels like black should be very happy with the outcome.
All right, and let's move on from this one to Jan-Krzysztof against Nordebek. You were speaking about black being happy about this outcome. What about here, Peter? Black has an extra pawn, as we can see on the queen side. White's got these central pawns, and the knight can jump to d4. But is it enough compensation? Is white doing fine here, or has black managed to create something out of the opening and has real, chances to convert this?
Yeah, it's a very interesting position. I mean, I feel like white has a wonderful position. However, black is pawn up and he's hitting the knight. I feel like it should be some kind of a dynamic equality. It does feel like black has enough resources, but white also has a very nice position. I mean, I'm kind of expecting the move knight d4. Yeah, it's the move kind of begging to be played. But no, look at this. Jan-Krzysztof goes knight g3. I mean, a move I would have not even considered. But of course, while you are playing the game, you have maybe completely different mindset. Maybe he just wants to play for the maximum, yeah, because if he gets to the e7 pawn, or if it forces to move, then maybe this knight is heading towards the f6 pair, yeah. So then some e5, knight e4, knight f6 check ideas might appear.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because usually when black has got a pawn on g6 controlling f5 and h5, you don't want your knight on g3 because it has nowhere to go to. But like you mentioned, it has this long-term ideas of going e5, knight e4. And even if black supports the e7 pawn and doesn't give it up, I think that's what white wants to do. You want to push e5, you want to get in knight e4 anyway and create your play in the center.
Yeah, absolutely. The big question will be, of course, that if black reacts, somehow protects the e7 pawn, of course, the e7 pawn needs protection, then he also will have a very nice, annoying queen c4. Yeah, for example, after a move like rook e8, if white just simply pushes e4, e5, then black has this very nicely timed queen c4 hitting the queen, and there is nowhere to run with the queen because you can't take on a7, then you lose the d5 pawn, and basically the center pawns are the soul of white's position. So white needs to be careful.
And let's not forget, Peter, white also has these ideas of h4, h5 in such positions. Whenever the knight is on g3 and you have a hook on g6, maybe after rook e8, you keep that d5 pawn defended, queen c7, as you're mentioning, hitting that bishop. And I was also thinking about attacking motives with h4, because if black plays h5, then you have to always watch out for sacrifices as well.
Yes, I mean, h4 is definitely a move that it's very much in white spirit. First of all, it solves all the backrank issues. You want to go h4, h5. Probably black is anyway not shouldn't be allowing it. So he will react with h5, which will mean that h4 will not be a loss of a tempo. It will be a very useful move. And also this rook e8, queen c7. I mean, when I suddenly spotted queen c7, I got very excited. But anyway, black had to play rook e8. There was just no other way, which means that after queen c7, he will need to make some very, very ugly looking bishop c8 move. I mean, at least it looks ugly. Maybe it's perfectly fine. But how else can you protect your bishop?
Well, at least after bishop c8, you can try and think about moving your pawns forward. Peter, we will come back to this game, but it's wild action on the left Magnus board, and I think you have to jump to it immediately because look at the position.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly those kind of strategical things happening. Like I wouldn't say expecting, but it was very much in the air. Yeah, that Levon was targeting the c5 pawn. Let's quickly jump back to where we left. So takes, knight c3, queen c7, rook e1, bishop g4. Yeah, very typical, trying to get rid of this bishop. Takes, rook d8. And now Levon starts his maneuver fighting against the c5 pawn. He wants to target it with the bishop as well. Now the big question, of course, is that can black play the move e5, e4? It looks like black has this wonderful idea of opening up the long diagonal and winning material, but suddenly white can take d3, takes e4, and then the queen protects the knight, and of course simply winning back the pawn. So Magnus keeps the pawn, knight f6. Now white comes with bishop a3, knight d5 is played. Magnus is going for activity, knight a4, knight b4, queen e2, e4. Yeah, things escalate. The point is that basically black is forced to go for all these adventures because he cannot allow white to stabilize, take back the pawn, and then he will remain with all these weaknesses. So this is very principal way. e4 and d4, stunning move, of course, very, very pleasing. Typical Levon. I think he is very, very much enjoying all these things. Now, no matter how you take, then c2, c3 will fork the knight and the piece that takes on d4. So black, in fact, has to play a5, protecting the knight. c3 comes, knight d3, bishop takes c5, not minding the rook hanging on e1 because white has bishop b6, hitting the queen, and white wants to take the rook on d8 in return.
This is a really, really sharp position, Peter. Let's try and think of some variations of how the game might proceed, because I think this is that critical moment that just sort of leads to the rest of the game, and you know who's going to be the one who will be with the upper hand. So of course black has to move the queen, and the two moves that come to mind are either queen d7 or queen d6, just trying to keep the rook under check. I don't know, queen d7 feels like a natural move here, but then that runs into knight c5, so maybe queen d6.
Yeah, or queen c8. I mean, to me somehow queen c8 looks like the most sympathetic, but look at this. Magnus goes queen d7. Okay, very interesting.
Okay, so you were mentioning bishop takes d8, and my first question to you is, after bishop d8, doesn't black have this option? If you take on d8, then yes, rook e1, and I think you're really happy. But can black go knight takes g2 first?
Exactly, you take knight g2, and probably that's the reason why Magnus also wanted to have his queen on d7.
Ooh, h3 is under fire.
Yeah, on fire, and also the queen protects the e7 pawn just in case. Yeah, who knows, white might take on e4 and threaten something. I mean, just in case, then this is very, very important nuance. The big question is then, does Levon really want to allow this, or he has
maybe rook e1? What about, how is this exchange sacrifice with rook e1? Because your e4 pawn is weak as well as the a5 pawn is attacked. Maybe the knight will jump to c5. Is this a sacrifice that white can consider?
Definitely white can consider. Also, the other question is what happens if white includes the natural move knight c5, hitting the queen first, and Levon
goes
does
for
this.
But isn't knight f3 check an option here? Or then you
Yes,
just take
knight f3 check, definitely an option.
No, but
where does this lead?
Probably nowhere, because you just take gf3, queen h3,
and queen takes e4. I'm guessing.
Yeah, let's just point out that bishop
sorry, then rook d5, and suddenly rook g5 checkmate is a threat. So be careful.
This is super nice.
Yeah, so
but Peter, you can take bishop takes d8 because ef3 runs into queen e7 mate. That was my idea, to take e takes f3, but I get mated first on e7.
Yeah, that's actually beautiful. Yeah, e3, queen e7, knight f3 check on the board. We might be
oh my god,
something like, but you know, after g takes f3, you can also take ef3. That's also possible, but then white will probably just take, but queen f3, queen d5. Okay, let's take a look, because takes queen f3, and black suddenly has the move queen d5 and solving the double attack on the queen and the rook.
And how do you evaluate this position after queen d5, rook d5, and just maybe you can start with rook e1 as well there. After
Yeah,
queen
but
d5?
I mean, endgame, and still black has the idea of breaking in the center with e7, e5. I feel that black should be at least fine. I mean, I don't know what's happening, but black at least should be fine. And look at this now. Levon is taking his time after knight f3. Did he? Maybe he missed what? He missed maybe gf ef. Maybe this is so easy to miss. Yeah, that he was
so
focusing on queen h3. Yeah.
Queen h3 was so tempting with the idea of ef3 and checkmating, and then suddenly realized that the e7 pawn is hanging, and that's a checkmate on black.
Exactly. Yeah, but suddenly it seems like, yeah, that after gf3, e takes f3 is the main question. Yeah.
But Lev slowed down now. Lev slowed down, because very often you miss these kind of moves, like missing queen e7, but when it's on the board, you suddenly see it. So now he's got to find his way forward after knight f3. He goes for gf3. We were looking at this. And Magnus, of course, queen h3 would be a big blunder right now. We saw that line. He takes e takes f3, as you were pointing out, Peter. Yeah,
and queen takes f3, queen d5. I'm pretty sure that Levon missed it. I mean, if he would have noticed it, he would have chosen a different path, because now he's kind of forced to. No, he goes knight takes d7. Yeah, but this is not a happy choice. This is a very, very sad choice, because now it's clear that black is better. And actually, if Levon loses this game, then it might be very, very tough for him to qualify. So really a lot at stake for Lev here.
So I think it all comes down to that move knight c5, where some calculation was mixed up by Lev.
Yeah, I mean, he missed this e takes f3, queen d5 trick, and now he's maybe paying a very, very high price. Okay, Magnus has a choice. That does he capture the knight or does he capture the bishop? I mean, feeling wise, you would love to take king takes d7. That's the most natural one. And but okay, king d7, bishop takes a5. White is just one move away from collecting the e2 pawn. Yeah, so the question is like, what does e7, e5 mean to the position? Maybe it's pretty drawish. So in this regard, maybe then Magnus is thinking about, hang on, let me take on d8, and after knight c5, break with e5. And in fact, this knight is not that strong as it looks.
All right, so this looks like Levon's in a bit of trouble in this one. We'll come back to it, Peter. Wild action on a lot of boards. So I want to take you back to the Eric Hansen, Jan Nepomniachtchi matchup. Lots of big developments there. And at first sight, it looks like Eric is dominating Jan in this position. Look at the pieces. Just compare each piece to each other. The queen on d5, beautifully centralized. The bishop on e5, also centralized. Rook on b8, absolutely in the enemy camp, while all of black's pieces are tied down to defense.
Yeah, I mean, white has this incredibly gorgeous position. I mean, just unbelievable. Every piece is, it's like a symphony. I mean, everything works together. The big question is, yeah, that will Jan be able to create his magic? Because, okay, we know that often he has some bad position, but he's so creative, he's so resourceful that he might find something. But at this moment of time, it's very, very difficult to imagine how he can break through. Also, the problem that this bishop is pinned, yeah? The rook is putting a lot of pressure on the bishop and the king on g8, plus also
and the pawn on b7. I mean, rook b7 is a big, big threat. Even if you go b6, white can go rook b7, winning a pawn at least.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's looking very bad, but typically, Jan, I think that if he could give the pawn, like, for example, rook b7, queen f6, rook takes a7, and then go g7, g5, try to kick this bishop from the diagonal, so that if white retreats the bishop, then he might be able to kick this queen away from d5. It's such a monster queen. But yeah, he goes rook c6. Of course, he doesn't want to give the pawn. But now white goes h4. I'm loving this small little move h4. White is maybe threatening to fix the pawn structure with h4, h5. Black never gets the chance of breaking out with g7, g5. And what do? I mean, black is completely stuck.
Yeah, and the clock situation is a complete indication of how difficult it is for Jan. It's the first time in the whole tournament that I'm seeing him down to 7 minutes. Usually by now, he has more time than what he started with. So Eric Hansen, well, a position that his fans can definitely celebrate. Looks like he's got things absolutely in control. An uphill task for the tournament leader to keep this one intact. Peter, let's jump to another game. And wow, look at the development on the Hans Niemann Artemiev board. A big one for Artemiev. We were talking about domination, and I think black here is completely dominating white.
Yes, I mean, okay, white is now stuck with terrible weaknesses. Yeah, black has already also achieved the c3 square. Black has also some more ideas like knight a7, knight ab5, supporting the knight on c3 if white starts trading it with knight e2. So, but first, of course, he goes king d7, also getting ready for some rook hc8. This is the dream scenario from black, yeah, that white started with all this h4 g4 operation, but as I mentioned, once after knight fd7, white was forced to retreat with the knight to f3. It was clear that this strategy did not work out. I mean, black is in total control, and now it's very, very tough to defend this position. Only chance for Hans is that Vladislav is, as usual, done on the clock. Yeah, but he has such a nice position. I don't think that he minds it.
Well, down to 3 minutes, as you mentioned, that's a very typical Vladislav situation. So not too worried about the clock. We do have our first result. Jan-Krzysztof Duda Nordebek has ended in a draw. Peter, we were looking at that position. It exactly went as he was thinking. White went h4, h5, and your move queen c7 was on the board as well. And then the players repeated with queen c6 and the rook being attacked constantly. Peter, Jan, meanwhile, has gone for desperate measures in his position. After h5, you were mentioning, it clamps down on black, not allowing g5. But Jan's had enough of his position, and he says, I'm going for g5 anyway.
Yeah, because just sitting and waiting, you run out of moves and you don't have any chances. So at least you want to pose some practical problems to your opponent, even if it's like calculating a winning line, but he needs to calculate something. But it's a terrible position. I mean, it looks so awful, even very difficult to analyze something, because it looks like every white move is so strong, and I still don't see the counterplay. No counterplay at all.
Do you go on? I was going to ask that. Do you actually go on person? It makes a lot of sense because black can't go rook g6 because b7 is hanging one more time. So he's got to take it with the, and he decides to go king g6.
Yeah, he need to, because after f takes g6, actually, I noticed that white can play rook d8, threatening rook d7. There is no defense against rook d7. So it's a terrible situation that you had to take with king on g6.
Can he go g4 now, trying to threaten checks on f5 and h5?
Yes, definitely. It's a very tempting move. On the other hand, white feels so comfortable that maybe he feels like, I don't want to weaken anything. Yeah, that's but g4, since black cannot play the move queen e6, the bishop on f8 is hanging. It's a very, very natural move. Threatening queen f5, also some bishop e5. I mean, it's so hard to imagine not giving checkmate here to black.
Well, you know, Eric's a streamer, so g4 for the spectators would be fantastic.
Well, the position is already fantastic enough. I mean, okay, if the Chess Brass Society does not enjoy this position, then which position do they enjoy? Yeah, it's too beautiful.
All right, and meanwhile, we haven't had a look at the Anish Shark game, so let's get a quick update on that before we jump down to this. By the way, Eric did decide to go bishop e5. We'll come back to it, but what's going on here, Peter?
Well, it feels like black should be better. I mean, of course, white has this incredible nice knight on d6, but one somehow feels that white is overstretched. The pawns e5, f4 are quite weak. Yeah, f4 is a target. If ever this bishop comes into life, yeah, for example, with bishop f8 and the knight will have to move from d6, it's automatically total collapse in white's position. Now, black was also in time to activate this bishop, threatening bishop c2. So I'm kind of expecting that the big question is, can white capture the b3 pawn or not? Yeah, if you can't, then it's just very bad position. What happens if you do? I mean, definitely Anish. Yeah, queen takes b3 on the board. It's the only move. And now the question, maybe some bishop h6. Yeah, because the bishop can also join the party from here, combined with some queen c1, bishop takes f4. Also, black wants to go h5, h4. Locking white's king on h1 and on the dark squares. Very scary position, but a very tactical one.
I'm guessing after bishop h6, white has to defend that f4 pawn. You can't just let it fall because then the attack will be quite powerful. So after bishop h6, white could make a move like queen b4, but then you've also got bishop c2 forcing that rook out of a4.
Yeah, also the big question, can white somehow try some counterattack against the f7 pawn, but black is threatening queen c1 check and bishop takes f4.
Immediately, no?
Yes,
There's a big threat.
that's a problem. So, but how do we, I mean, yeah, queen b4 is a protection, but you mentioned
Maybe
bishop
queen
c2.
b4, bishop c2.
Yeah, very unpleasant, very nice. Okay, yeah, and queen d4, you have queen c1 or queen e1 checks.
Or maybe rook a1 now. But then you just take on f4, yeah?
Then I take on f4 and then everything falls apart. Yeah, it's... Okay, we do see the evaluation bar is not that pessimistic about white's position. But for the moment, h4 is played by Anish. So Anish first fixes this structure with h4, but it gives white some breathing time.
Yeah, bishop h6 looked like a very nice move in that position, as you were pointing out, with a direct threat of the pawn on f4. But at least h4 now, Anish says, you know, I have queen e1, queen g3 bailout at any moment.
Yeah, but in this position, you shouldn't be looking for bailouts. Yeah, you should look for crushing ideas. Definitely, maybe he feels like, you know, white is anyway stuck. However, I don't know. Maybe now I have some time with all these queen b7 ideas. I feel like, yeah, this was a little bit too slow. It's a very nice move. If black is in time to make another move, then it's fantastic. But I feel like maybe white lost the momentum. Just a second, like black lost the momentum. But Magnus is pawn up, and he has this technical possession. So yeah, it's a very, very crucial game. If he wins, then he basically almost guarantees qualification. While for Levon, it would mean that he probably exits the tournament.
All these endings, even without being a pawn down, are a nightmare to play against Magnus with his grind down technique. This is definitely going to be a very tough task for Lev to hold on to. Peter, let's get an update on the Prague Vincent board. I know that secretly you've been keeping an eye out on that one.
Well, at some point, yes, but on my screen, if you look at the last games, then I don't see the first two games. Yeah, so if you are focusing on Magnus's game or on Anish's game, then actually I can't see it. It looks to me like a bit scary for black, yeah, because white has the initiative. Look at this incredible powerful rooks, but Vincent was in time to coordinate his forces. The rook on e6 is a very, very nice defender. The clock situation is very close. Yeah, 2 versus 3 minutes. The rooks are traded. I mean, it feels like it should be actually about equal. Yeah, there is a chance for repetition, like after king f7 or king d7, rook g7, king e6, rook g6 would be a very, very logical outcome, for example. But we know that draw is not the best result for Prague. On the other hand, he has to play according to the demands of the position. This is an endgame. You cannot keep on playing for a win if you don't have the right to do so. In this sense, I feel like maybe white should take the exit with rook g7.
All right, Peter, we have to rush to the Eric Hansen Jan Nepomniachtchi game. Happy to report that g4 happened at some point, but what we have is this position, this endgame, and Jan is a million pawns down in this. So this is just completely busted for black now.
This is completely, yeah. I mean, white is how many pawns? I mean, 3 pawns up.
3 pawns up, yeah.
And still has the better position. I mean, black's look is still stuck. White has all this coordination. I think it's not too premature to design here. It's just completely over. A really massive win for Eric if he, and I can't imagine not to win this.
I'm predicting that t-shirt will not return tomorrow.
Could easily be, yeah, could easily be. I mean, this game definitely hurts. But maybe also it shows the mindset of Jan already that, yeah, it's he knows that he qualifies anyway. He's winning the tournament. I mean, the preliminaries, because the tournament is just starting after the preliminaries. But this also just shows what a crazy and cruel format it is. Yeah, because you finish this incredible preliminaries with 15 runs, and actually it doesn't give you anything if you are first. Okay, you take now much bigger prize fund with you, but a part of that, the tournament starts from absolutely zero.
Yeah, in fact, I think already so far, Jan has made over $6,500 just in the preliminaries because of the scoring system and $750 for every win, which is a lot more than what the players have been making in the past in the tour. Because in the earlier preliminaries, the prize fund for the players was $2,500 each. Those who qualified, and here it just goes on to show that if you take the risks, there's a big payout. But here, this one, it's been a tough one for Jan. Peter, meanwhile, let's take a look at the Anish board, because the idea that you were suggesting happened on the board. But I'm just wondering if Anish was 1 minute too late, because White managed to get that defense with Queen D4, Queen G1 in. So if we just back up to that position we were discussing, Bishop H6 on, and Anish decided to go H4 here. But what happens with this is that White now went Queen B4, and Black was not able to get Bishop C2 in time.
Exactly. I mean, this is what we talked about, that H4 is a very nice move, but it loses the momentum, and Shakya immediately used it. Yeah, immediately used Queen E1, Queen G1, very nice defense, and after Queen G6, now Rook D4, just timely hitting this bishop, and this bishop has nowhere to go. Plus, hang on, the Rook on D8 is hanging. So when you are moving with the bishop, Knight F5 jump comes on Knight E4 jump, and you might end up losing big material. How is Anish holding on? Wow, what a turnaround. I mean, what a massive turnaround. So Anish has to sacrifice the piece. Bishop takes F4. Rook takes D3. Bishop takes E5. Hang on, he wants to sacrifice his queen. Yeah, so after...
No, but Knight E4?
After Knight E4, he needs to take on D3. And Knight takes G3, he wants to take Bishop takes G3, and then somehow to get the Rook to E1.
Knight E4 on the board, but this looks like it shouldn't be enough. It requires a few precise moves from White, but I feel that there has to be a way out of this bind now.
Yes, definitely it has to be, because you can somehow move the queen to C1 exactly, then Bishop E2 you can always cover with the bishop on F1, the first rank, and then, for example, even if Black somehow reaches with his Rook to E1, you can play Queen C4 protecting the bishop and already also marching with your pawn. Of course, it's dangerous strategy, because then Black would also have E6, E5, E4, E3. But of course, Black will not even get there. So White has everything under control, should win this.
And Queen C1 was an important move, because from the C1 square, he controls the E3 square. So Black's Rook doesn't get into Rook E3, Rook E1 in time. So White can get this defense going. Anish going Rook B3, trying to create a blockade on the B2 pawn. But I'm wondering if White even has the time to go Bishop D1. I was just about to say the move is on the board, pushing that Rook away. It feels like Shak is on this kamikaze mode, it's very hard to imagine him qualifying. I think we'll need a lot of results to go his way. He'll have to probably win all the games, but he's playing that role where he can really come in the way of the other's qualification.
Absolutely. I mean, this is an incredible win for Shakti. I mean, it doesn't bring him so much, but this is what I mentioned before the start of today's games, that the players who already kind of feel like they have nothing to lose, they already don't believe that they have a chance, they might be very dangerous. And for Anish, of course, getting this dream position and then losing it might be very, very painful. Now, Bishop E2 after Rook E5, White can simply play Queen C2, very nicely protecting, and then start pushing the B pawn. The king can also slowly evacuate itself from the corner. It looks like a very easy technical win for White.
This would mean that Anish will have just 2 more games left to make it into the quarters. It will play a big role, and let's see if he's able to. This one, I think, is a goner for Anish, but of course, still lots to fight for in the upcoming 2 rounds. Peter, we've got some results that I'm just going to tell you about. Artemiev has won his game against Hans Niemann. So Artemiev well on his path to the qualification. Lei Kwang-Liam beat Alexandra Kostanuik. And another result update, a big one. Eric Hansen managed to convert. Well, it was a winning position against Jan Nepomniachtchi, but it wasn't just the result. I think the style of play and the quality with which it almost looked like Eric outplayed Jan in this one, completely dominated from start to finish.
Yeah, it somehow went too smooth. Yeah, it's not what you kind of expect, but Eric has been playing wonderfully throughout. So yeah, he's very dangerous. And look at this. It seems like Levon is escaping.
Is he more than escaping now, though?
No, I don't think so. I mean, now that Black will trade the rooks, Black's king will activate itself on the queen side, and the bishop is strong enough to, I mean, it feels like it should be drawn. It feels like it should be drawn, yeah.
This probably will end in a draw. So in general, let's just take a look at some ideas and lines how this might proceed. So you trade the rooks on g5, on the board hg5, and now do you bring your knight to d2, or you attack the pawn with your king?
Yeah, basically, I mean, okay, I'm guessing some king fc, knight d2 moves are very thematic. Of course, you can also try maybe some knight d4, knight e4, immediately hitting the pawn on g5, but black will retreat the bishop to e7. Yeah, knight d2 on the board.
He's going to go king b5.
Yeah, but somehow there are way too little material left on the board. I feel that, yeah, this,
Okay.
king b5 played.
And maybe knight f3 is an interesting move here, because after knight f3, bishop e7, you also have the option to go knight d4 check.
Wow, okay, but this is not trivial. I mean, knight fc is really a very interesting and nice move. And the Levon goes f3. I mean, he plays the so-called stability mode, but his king is a little bit far away from action, so might come down to some tempo play.
Peter, you call this stability move, but for me it's very hard to understand, because it felt naturally you either attack the pawn with the knight or get your king into the game.
Yeah, but somehow the pawn on f2 was hanging. Levon wants to keep his knight a little bit closer, so that after king a3 he will have knight c4 check. Yeah, that's the reason why he didn't want to move the knight from d2. So king a3, knight c4 would be very nice, because the king a2, knight takes a5, you hit on c6, and you immediately save. So after king f1, black will have to lose a move, after which he comes with king e2, and yeah, it seems like, yeah, this idea of keeping the knight on d2 is also very, very simple. And
all right,
effective.
so while the dust has settled on this one, Peter, and it looks like this is going to end in a draw, it is a storm in the Dingler and Asipenko both. So let's go to that. What is going on? White's king under fire, but currently all in check, because you always have the escape route through g3 or through f3. And I like this move f5. It takes away some squares. Of course, also intercepting the check. G6 instead would mean queen d4 ideas, attacking on h8. So f5 makes a lot of sense. Knight f5 can be met with queen f4. What is going on in this position? Do you think that white needs to be careful, or can just start rolling with the b pawn?
I mean, it's such a crazy position and such a wild position. If you give me some time, for example, okay, queen e1 check is a threat, king f3 is played now. Somewhere also some timely d5, d4 opening up, maybe somehow this bishop. Yeah, then black will also have some rook b3 pin. I mean, it looks very, very scary. For example, let's just see this d4 move, something like queen takes d4, rook b3, threatening some bishop d5 check with mating effect, so you have no time to go rook b7 because of bishop d5 check. I mean, to me, this king f3 kind of invites d5, and it's on the board. d4, and black might be just winning now.
Asipenko just blitzed that move out. Well, he's down to 40 seconds, so keeping that dynamic in the board, d4. White's got to be super careful with you have to take the pawn. You can't move the knight away. And Peter, here you were suggesting the move rook to b3.
Yeah, and it's on the board. Yeah, on the board. This looks brutal. Simply, I don't see a defense for white.
He's got to stop the move bishop d5. So what about rook e8?
Yeah, rook e8, but somehow...
I was thinking rook d8, but I think rook e8 is more active because it does support the e3 knight. Plus, I'm hitting the bishop on e6.
Yes, you hit the bishop, but hang on. I mean, queen f1 check.
I'm hoping G3. There's no mate after king g3.
Yeah, well, I have some rook d3 as well. Looks so scary. Also, I can give the... yeah, queen e1 check. I can force you back to f3, and... it looks... But yeah, this rook e8 is of course a stunning resource, but hang on, rook b2 now, and I'm mating you on f2. This would hurt. No, hang on, then my rook is hanging. Hop. Yeah, that's how you blunder with few seconds on the clock. By trying to give, yeah, rook e8, maybe it's the only move to stay in the
34
game.
seconds. Rook e8. I was also thinking of the alternative rook d8, but the thing is, the moment you spot rook e8, you want to hit that bishop instead.
Yes, exactly. But Ding goes king f2. I mean, it's a very, very natural human move. I mean, trying to unpin. It looks like you have things under control, but now actually rook b2 check is not a blunder. After which probably king, where does this king g3 or king f3?
24 seconds. He needs to make a call what he wants to play, and he needs to make that call really quick. So rook f2 or rook b2. Let's take a look at this line, Peter, that you're mentioning. After rook b2, let's say white goes king f.
Yeah, rook b2
king
check,
f3
king
on the
f3
board.
on the board now. But hang on, now, okay, I almost blundered again, yeah, with queen g1, but then the rook is hanging, so
The
rook
rook
d2.
is always hanging.
Yeah, but rook d2 and next queen g1 or queen e1, queen f2 mate. Yeah, this is it. This is it.
Oh, wow. So actually king f2 was a big mistake by white. A huge blunder.
Yeah, but okay, with few seconds on the clock also for Ding,
Super
it's
difficult.
so difficult. And I think one thing we also have to say that in online chess, if you lose the control of the position, it's so difficult to get it back. Yeah, it's I think that over the board, maybe it's easier to somehow defend. Yeah, and queen e1 is on the board. Here it's much easier to attack. Yeah, because it's so easy to focus on the attack while defending in online rapid or this is already blitz. Yeah, with few seconds on the clock, bullet. It's very, very difficult.
And I don't even see a way to escape the mate anymore. Okay, he's trying to create the e4 square, but there has to be something. So you go queen f2, king g4.
Yeah, and then, okay, g5, check and mate.
Just king
yeah.
h4, g5.
Yeah, just g5 and then bishop f7 mate or any other mate
Or queen
as well.
h3 mate, just a million. Yeah, that's it. Wow. But Peter, this really puts Ding Liren in a bit of danger now for qualification. And it, of course, pushes Andrei Osipchenko's chances into the knockouts.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a massive win for Andrei. And Ding Liren, who started so well, and we were so happy for him that, wow, we actually see the Ding we want to see. But it seems to me like he's falling victim of this very, very tough schedule. Yeah, that in the first days, he was still fit with this 1 a.m. till 5 a.m. business, but if it keeps on going for 3-4 days, it's just so unhuman. And
Peter, speaking about inhuman positions, take a look at the Shak Anish board. It's still on. White has got 2 queens. One is getting lost, but still, I mean, what is this? This is just I don't know, just aesthetically crazy.
Yes, and the game goes on, but of course not very long.
The king, of course, runs away.
White needed to run away, yeah, because king f1 would have run into rook g1 check. So White runs away, and then it's kind of very funny that after bishop b8, queen b8, there is rook 4 pawns versus queen bishop. I mean, I have never seen this construction, but yeah, queen versus rook and 4 pawns would be an intrigue. It would be a battle, but with the extra bishop help and black kings should be mated. I mean, just it should be made. Maybe even some king e5, somehow you activate the king as well. Also bishop,
away the squares. He's gone for it. So king e5, rook f3.
Yeah, rook f3, but now the g6 pawn is vulnerable. Yeah, so white will head for some bishop f7 combined with queen h8, queen f6. I mean, no, you can't hope to survive this
one.
And is this our last game? Yeah, it's our last game because Pragnanda Vincent game ended in a draw. So yeah, this is our last game. Bishop c4, setting bishop e2. Yeah, also eyeing this. Yeah, looks like an incredible, crazy position, but a clear win for white.
Yeah, very tough to fight bishop e2. I mean, I think even if you make a move like he's gone for h3, but this gives you time to go bishop e2. Bishop e2.
Yeah, and then after h2 also queen h8.
You can
check
go queen
wins
h8
the pawn.
and pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is just no intrigue here. Yeah, bishop e2 on the board. King g4 had to be played. You have to kind of reinforce everything. Yeah, I mean, Anish is trying, but if he would have a minor piece, yeah, some knight on g5 or bishop on h5, I mean, something that gives the stability, yeah, then he could be fighting. Of course, it would be lost anyway, but then he could be fighting like this.
This is a nice move.
Yeah, opening up the queen diagonal, yeah.
Super nice. Not allowing king g3, not allowing the king to go further and support the pawns. Takes control. Also attacks the g6 pawn. f4. So Anish's idea is he wants to go king g3 and h2. Still fighting, Peter.
Still fighting, yeah. I mean, if his king is not mated, then he will fight till the very, very end, yeah, because there are all these ideas of giving up the rook, and then with all these pawns shouldering your king, actually you get some chances.
This is a crazy position, and even though our eval bar is of course saying that white is dead winning here, but when you're playing on the board, it's just nerve-wracking to play such a game.
Yeah, I feel that maybe some queen e8 is very nice. I mean, you need to, or queen e5, I mean, target this e4 pawn, because this is the soul of the defense, yeah, and you cannot push it. So something like queen e5, you have to play king g3. Or no, queen e5, you play h2. Queen b1, the same idea, hitting the e4 pawn and also keeping an eye on the h1 square. It's a nice move.
But if you go h2 now, you can't really take on e4 because of h1 queen. So after h2, does he want to go queen h1?
Yes, I think I'm gonna go queen h1, and after king g3, can I actually take and then take, and my queen controls everything? It's maybe possible, yeah. Can just take, and then take, and now with queen on h1, I protect all these ideas, and I'm just coming and collecting.
Yeah, and you're just in time. And black's king is really stuck now.
Yes. I mean, wow, very nice reaction by Shak with queen b1.
I really love his idea of defense of king f6 and then queen b1, finding the precise way forward, where it's actually so easy to kind of go queen h8 or attack the pawns with your own queen.
Yeah, but on the other hand, probably Shakti, I will also tell you, okay, come on, but with an extra queen, I cannot win. Then what do you expect from me? But it seems like, yeah, he's on the right track.
So he's gone for h2. And we were looking at this line with queen h1 now.
Yes, I'm just loving this queen h1, because if it's a very simple, okay, he just takes king g6. Yeah, there is also no reason not to take it yet. Black needs to play king g3 anyway.
And then you'll take bishop f3.
And then you take, of course, I just wanted to make sure that I double these pawns. Yeah, king g3 is on the board. Yeah, he takes on f3, and okay, it should
And after king f3, there's queen h1 check, king g3. Can you actually pick up queen e4? Because then there's f3. Can we take a look at that, Peter? For example, king f3 here, queen h1, king g3. Maybe it's time to get your king.
Yeah, queen h1 on the board, king g3 will be blitzed out. I mean, king f5 easily, king e4 yeah. looks in the spirit, yeah.
Because let's point out that after queen e4, black had this nasty f3, which suddenly creates a bit of a mess on the board.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't want to do this. Yeah, king e4 coming back, and that's it. e2, queen f3 check, and you start collecting everything.
Queen versus 3 pawns. What a crazy end to an equally crazy game. And it looks like Anish is about to give up on this one now.
Yeah, and it's a very sad moment for him. Yeah, he had such an incredible chance. He was clearly better. In fact, now he gets mated also. Yeah, king h4, king takes f4, instead of collecting, just checkmating.
Let's just show that, Peter.
King takes f4, e1 queen, and queen g4 checkmate is also possible.
Wow. That was what a game moment, and a tough loss for Anish, but he's still in the mix. Let's take a look at how the games went. Once again, a lot of decisive chess on the board. The players with their fighting chess index are on point. We've got Hans Niemann, who lost to Artemiev, Prag and Vincent. The battle between the young generations, the young ones, ended in a draw. Lei Quangliam beat Alexandra Kostanuik. Eric Hansen, he's been the sensation of the tournament. I mean, he's beat Jan-Krzysztof Duda, he beat Magnus Carlsen, he's beaten Jan Napomniachtchi, and I'm sure I'm missing a few others, but what an event he's had. And he won against the tournament leader in this last game. Ding Liren lost to Andrei Asipenko. This one's going to hurt the world number 3. Jan-Krzysztof Duda Nordebek ended in a draw. Levon Magnus, that was a tough one for Levon. It looked like Magnus got... I'm actually quite surprised, Peter, because Magnus was a pawn up, and usually in these kind of end games, he doesn't let go of these advantages. And it's the conversion technique comes to him quite naturally. But this one, Levon managed to survive, and Shak, in a dramatic game, beat Anish Giri. And these are our standings going into our next game, game 14. Just 2 more games remaining to see who makes it to the knockout stages. Jan Napomniachtchi is still leading with 27 points. Now Vladislav Artemiev in sole second position. Artemiev's just been so impressive, even in the previous tour and in this one, fighting back when it's very easy to actually lose control when things don't go your way. But Artemiev really back in the mix. He's up to second position, and Eric Hansen I don't even know what to say about him. He is the second lowest rated player in the event, and he's on third position with just 2 games remaining. Andrei Asipenko, Magnus Carlsen, and Vincent Keymer with 21 points. Vincent, Peter, again, just keeping it going. He's been solid. He's been up there throughout the event. And Anish Giri, Nodebek, Levon, Dingler, and Leko Liam. I think it's between these 5 players that we can expect some twists and turns in the upcoming game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, okay, the next round will be really decisive. I mean, those who are behind, they have to at least stay in striking distance, right? I mean, that's very, very important for them, so that they will have everything to play for in the very last game. And what are our pairings? Let's take a look. I see Anish Giri versus Vladislav Artyomiev, have a very, very important game. Magnus Carlsen against Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, Nodirbek Abdusatov against Levon Aronyan, Andrei Yesipenko against Jan-Krzysztof Duda, Jan Nepomniachtchi against Ding Liren, Alexandra Kostenyuk against Eric Hansen. So Eric Hansen actually has the very big chance. But at the same time, I feel that this is a very dangerous moment for Eric, that there is so much pressure on him. He played a wonderful event, but actually if he does not win, or if he loses to Alexandra, and it will be Alexandra's win in the tournament, then his qualification spot might be in danger. It's a nerve-wracking game for Eric. And Vincent Keymer against Leko Liam, and Hans Niemann against Pragnanda. Wow.
Oof, the Alexander Kostenyuk, Eric Hansen game, Peter, like you mentioned, if Eric manages to win this one, he's pretty much closed the deal. But is this where Alexandra will spoil his chances and score the point? We see our players on the screen. Jan Nepomniachtchi looking quite unhappy with the way things went at the start of his day. And he's got reasons to be. So Ding Liren as well, he knows that it's super important, at least for Jan, you know, his situation, his tournament situation, everything's fine. But for Ding, it's now in danger. Levon managed to survive a scare. So Levon looking a bit confident there, ready for his game. And we see Vincent fully focused. Eric Hansen, what an event for the Canadian star. And Magnus still not on his screen.
Yeah, well, it's really a lot of tension. Okay, Nodirbek against Levon Aronyan, they are playing a very, very big theoretical discussion. Wow, Queen FC F5. I will be curious to see if Nodirbek keeps on blitzing or not after F5. I think this is a novelty. Let's just back off. Bishop E2 almost blitzed out, but I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if not, Nodirbek just wanted to show that, no, I'm not impressed by F5. But maybe he should have spent a little more time. I'm not liking it if he's just bluffing that I want to signal to Levon that I know what you are doing and I know the response, then it can be risky. Let's take a look. What was it? So C4, Knight F6, Knight C6, E5. This is the typical Nodirbek variation. He plays with E4 all the time, and he had so many games with Bishop B4, D3. Yeah, he had millions of games. That's how he became Rapid War champion in Warsaw last December. But Levon now goes different ways with Bishop C5, Knight E5, Knight E5. I recall it in the game Magnus Carlsen against Anish Giri from St. Petersburg Rapid War Championship. And but there, I think Black captured on C3. I think it was Knight takes C3, B takes C3, and then the big question was, where do you move this bishop? Yeah, that was the big question. But Levon stays creative, goes F5. It's clearly some kind of a preparation. Bishop E2, castles, Bishop C3, BC, Queen E7 on the board. This is the current position.
All right, so Queen E7 hits the E5 pawn immediately, and White's got to defend that pawn. You can't just give it away. But I don't see a very easy way to do that, because a move like Bishop F4 also provokes G5.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight that in almost each of Levon's games, yeah, we see that he loves to double his opponent's pawn structure. Yeah, gives up the bishop. It's like this typical reverse Rossolimo structures after White goes E4. And he wants to play in the spirit. I mean, I'm actually loving Black's position. Yes, it's true that the bishop is not yet developed, and it's still a long way to go because none of the pawn B7 and D7 moved. But Black has such a solid structure And yeah, as you highlighted, yeah, the pawn on e5 is hanging. White needs to react. Yeah, queen e3 was the move that I had in mind as well. That
nice.
after
Tactical. So
queen e5,
but
you
what about
have
queen c3?
Yeah, but I hope that it works. Yeah, so f3, let's take a look. Yeah, queen takes c3. How does this continue?
Can you actually just take f takes e4 and then after queen a1 go bishop a3?
Yeah, something like, and this looks very, very dangerous. Yeah, this looks very dangerous. And Levon, of course, says, no, thank you very much. I already did what I want. I spoiled your pawn structure. I just want to keep on developing. And after queen move to e3, b6 followed by bishop b7. After f3, always black can play knight c5. Wonderful outpost for the knight. Black is then also setting to push f5, f4 strategically. It might be very, very unpleasant. I think Levon has a wonderful position. I mean, wonderful from black means that comfortable equality.
All right, let's go on with our opening tour. So as you mentioned that Levon has got reasons to be happy with the position that he has. Let's take a look at some of our other boards, Peter. We've got interesting stuff on. Let's take a look at the Dingler and Jan Nepomniachtchi matchup because it's a super important one for Ding.
Yeah, super important. And I feel some deja vu because isn't this Jan versus Dingliren from the very first candidates when Jan won this very, very important game against Dingliren and went on to lead the tournament. I feel like it's very much the same. Let me take a look. Yes, this is exactly the same because I have also been kind of involved in this game's preparation back then. So yeah, it looks familiar. Yeah, takes, knight d5, a5, rook b2, takes, bishop d8, c4, knight d4. Yeah, takes. A very, very double-edged. I'm a little bit surprised from Ding's side that he is willing to repeat this because at least we have very nice memories. I mean, Jan has won this game. Yeah, bishop f6, g3 on the board. But now Ding is clearly prepared. He knows what he's doing. In that game, he lost control quite early on.
Yeah, this looks like a nice position. But, you know, Peter, even though Jan, yes, he's already made it to the knockouts and he's won a lot of games. It's been a great event so far. But he still wants to finish on a high. You never want to let things go so out of control because for him, then the real tournament starts from tomorrow when he goes into the knockout stages, and you always want to do that from a position of power. So after losing that first game, I think it's very important for Jan as well, despite being safe, to qualify, to keep things under control today and not to go on tilt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that he already signals it that he's playing a very serious opening. Yeah, something that he was ready for the candidates when it really mattered the most. And this is really a battle between giants, yeah, because this is some computer heavy preparation from both sides. And it comes down that, yeah, it looks like the engine bar says that it's 0-0, kind of its dynamic equality. But the big question is, in practical game, how comfortable it is for black to play such position. Yeah, this is one of the questions because, yes, white has some weaknesses, but black also has some weaknesses. And I feel like in long terms, the knight on e2 might be superior to black's bishop on f6. But the big question is really which minor piece will manage to dominate the other in this structure. And it's still a long way to go to say which will really benefit more.
All right, so pretty complex position. Peter, we were talking about Eric Hansen versus Kostanek. So let's go to that game. Alexandra with the white pieces taking on Eric. Alexandra could play spoiler to Eric's dreams of making it to the knockout stages. And look at the position that we have. Bishop d3 played. White has got this double bishop advantage, but the d4 pawn, it's falling on the spot. I mean, what happens to queen takes d4 is my first question. Knight d4, you've still got queen b7, but what about queen d4?
Yeah, queen d4, I guess bishop c3. It looks like white has some incredible dangerous initiative. I mean, look at these two lovely bishops. The knights are out of the game. White's rooks are ready to join the battle. The queen is very active. I mean, this is the line I was telling you. You remember it was the game Alexander Kostenyuk versus Andrei Yesipenko. And I mentioned that I remember this Sochi Tile Blitz memorial in 2014 when Alexander was using this very special line in the Blitz, also used it against me. And It was so confusing, and it seems to me like Eric had not taken it too seriously. Yeah, because he might have expected it, but falling into this, look at this. Alexander is 16 minutes 41 seconds on the clock. Eric down to 10 minutes. It's exactly the moment what I have been talking about, that yeah, it might be very tricky for Eric.
Peter, you had predicted that this is going to be the day where you think Alexandra might start scoring, and well, this game looks like it could be it, because it's so dangerous for Black if he does take that pawn with these two bishops on c3 and d3. He goes for knight takes d4, but well, this move I regarded as something that Black doesn't want because of the move queen b7, picking up the pawn.
Yeah, but I think that it was already like which is the least worse. And knight takes d4 at least gives stability for Black. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that after this sensational win against Jan, Eric is not under such a big pressure to win this game. Actually, I think getting some safe position would be much more important for him, and then take it from there. That can I, from a safe position, try to squeeze out something, but first he needs stability, and this move knight d4, because if you have to take on b7, at least now Black's king is in safety. You have this very powerful knight which can jump, and you might actually win one of the bishops. So you have, for example, knight e2 check. I'm not sure if you want to do this, because bishop e2, queen takes d2, and then the bishop moves to f3, and maybe it's more or less drawish, but it might be a very dangerous position. For example, if now Black takes on b2, White collects the pawn on c7, and we see how powerful this bishop is, hitting the rook on a8, and the pawn on a7 will be lost, and backed by this bishop, the a pawn will decide the game. So even if things get technical, there is still a lot of danger in the positions for Black. So I feel like Black after queen takes b7 will try to play for activity, maybe rook b8, yeah, which will be met by queen e4, of course, coming back with the tempo, hitting on h7 with a checkmate. And then if you have to play f7, f5, which might be the principal move, because you don't want to give White the time to stabilize, but it also weakens, yeah, queen b7 on the board. We might be seeing this.
I just wanted to point out, while you were talking, I spotted a funny little draw which would happen exactly if you switch up your variation. For example, if White starts with queen e4, threatening a mate on h7, and Black goes f5, queen takes b7, rook b8, queen a7, and I think you can't run away with your queen after rook a8, rook b8.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look at this incredible powerful knight, this dominating knight on d4, yeah, because even queen b7, rook b8, queen a6 doesn't do anything.
Rook a8. And bishop c4 check, you just sidestep.
Yes, but I mean, okay, queen e4 just feels like, you know, no, it's you shouldn't be playing like this. Yeah, she plays queen b7, it's correct.
Because you want to keep that square on e4 for when you get attacked on b7.
Yeah, and now it's the big moment, because Black also has the move knight b3. Yeah, one of these questions which puts a double attack on the bishop on d2 and the rook on a1 plus on the bishop on d3. So a very big question. Why isn't knight b3 very strong? But I guess the answer is that now queen e4.
Because now f5, there's queen e6 check, picking up that knight.
Exactly. This is, and then winning, which means that you are forced to basically play g6, after which White will move somehow the bishop to c3, and it looks like it should be very dangerous. Also, bishop h6 kind of guarantees that you take back the exchange. I don't think that Eric will go for this. It's just too risky. Yeah, okay, so this is very tense. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Eric Hansen's fans are now very nervous. I fully understand them. Eric needs to get out of this danger zone. Rook b8 played. I like it.
We're expecting queen e4 now to come back, centralize the queen, and hit the pawn on h7.
Yeah, I mean, we see that engine bar says that, okay, now White is clearly better, but in a rapid game, if you feel that you have a chance to fight, yeah, and it feels like after queen e4, f5, then you can maybe push c5, protecting the knight, and you have counterplay. I think that matters much more than you don't play against an engine. Yeah, I mean, engines are of course very cruel and brutal, but humanly, all these emotions, when you feel that you have counterplay, or if you are better but you feel that your opponent has a counterplay, that's much more important, objective evaluation.
So super critical position for Eric Hansen, this one. He needs to find a way to bail out, but he's also had a great start to the day. So that gives him a little buffer. Let's move on, Peter. And we've got Hans against Prug. This looks very dangerous for White. I mean, what is this position? White's got a pawn on 8-6. Black's already broken on the king side, but it looks like Black should be the one who should be better here.
Well, this is what engine says, but to be honest, I'm feeling like I would be quite happy from the White side. It looks like a big mess. Yeah, G6 on the board, the very human reaction, because, okay, look at this. The rook on B1 is also already developed. Hans still seems to be kind of in his preparation, yeah, because look at the clock situation. He's almost 15 minutes. And for Prug, it's kind of, he feels that his position should be okay. He plays logical moves. But it's a very complex and dangerous position if you are not prepared. Yeah, you need to know some computer moves. Of course, now Black is threatening bishop f5, hitting the queen. So White needs to act energetically in this position.
Can White get really greedy and take on b7? I know pawn hunting in this tournament has proved to be quite the disaster, but is there an immediate repetition? Well, he says, I'm not going to do any of that, and sidesteps queen d2. Also going in with the queen to f4, trying to get rid of the pressure on the king side.
Exactly, yeah. Queen f4, and there's also some ideas, maybe like h7 check, with the idea that if you take, then suddenly White can jump queen h6 and maybe some knight g5 and go on the attack suddenly. Yeah, and also the bishop on h3 saying, of course, after h7 check, Black will always play king h8. That's kind of clear, but yeah, it looks like, I mean, White gets the momentum. Yeah, if there is nothing concrete here on g2, and it seems like White is nicely protected here, then actually with the pawn hanging on b7, it looks like White might be having the upper hand.
Okay, let's move on to the action on the other board. This one looks like it's going to be, in fact, it's funny because when we put the position on before g6 was played, it felt like Black's attack was going to be more powerful. But just these two moves, g6 and then queen d2, and like you're explaining, the queen trade ideas, or h7, queen h6, and bishop g2, rook g2 only invites more trouble for Black. So suddenly you go a little deeper into the position and you see that it's not all what it seems. Pragnananda falls back with the bishop, sidestepping the threat of h7 that you were pointing out, also attacks the rook. And now maybe it's time to get greedy with rook b7, but then I think Black wants to go rook b8 and fight for the b file.
Yes, after rook b7, clearly, but okay, rook b7 is very, very logical. You take the pawn. There are even some ideas of sacrificing the exchange, but of course, only if it works. If it's complicated, then no need for it. You can, for example, maybe just trade and then try to trade with queen f4, but then you give the momentum. I'm not such a big fan of it intuitively. But of course, it's such a complicated position that without serious calculation, it's impossible to decide on your moves.
Okay, wow, Peter, one game that's caught my attention, very exciting opening, is Andrei Asipenko versus Jan-Krzysztof Duda. Asipenko's already got all his development complete, all the forces set up. Black cannot castle. I have no idea how that rook got to h7, or more importantly, why did it get to h7? Well, had to be the defense on f7, but that really makes Duda's position at least look terrible.
Yes, but he's also super solid. I mean, everything is kind of covered and the pawn structure is so fixed that there are no breaks in the position. Yeah, so if there, and White's position is absolutely the maximum. I mean, you cannot really, maybe you can argue that the knight on c3 has a better square. For example, knight on d3 would be preferable, but in general, all the pieces which are attacking, they already look ready. I'm loving this rook on h7. If I'm not getting checkmated with some rook f8 tactics, yeah, on g6, but knight on d7 nicely protects the f8 square. So just to show what I was mentioning, like after some takes, rook f8, there is knight f8, and after queen takes d7, of course, Black will not take with the queen running into this checkmate idea, but simply takes with the king and loves and wins. So in fact, it's very provocative. Another sacrifice from knight f5, for example, Black can take because knight on e7 protects the g8 square. So it's not that simple. The bigger question is, what's Black's next move? Yeah, can you evacuate? For example, probably queen b6 is the next move. Rook d1 played. White switches white switches, but it's already a bad sign. I mean, if you have to switch, look at this knight c8. Yeah, he wants to go queen e7. I'm loving what Duda is doing. This is very nice. And look, knight f5. Now you can take, and queen g8. There is knight f8 protection. So the tactics don't work. Very important.
Oh, knight c8. It just looks so passive for black, but somehow white is not being able to find a way to break into with none of these sacrifices working. It just feels like this shouldn't be okay, you know, with the rook on a8, the rook on h7, and you're pointing out the pawn structure, but it feels as if white there has to be a way for white to break into black's very passive looking position.
Yeah, but these positions are very tricky. I mean, if black now really gets out with queen
knight
to
g6
e7,
here, you've got rook g7.
Yeah, knight g6, rook g7. Yeah, this is also very, very important. And again, if it would be something else like a rook on d7, then there would be ideas queen e6, f6, rook f8, checkmate. Yeah, those are the things that we are watching out with this king. But this is a knight, and this knight protects this king wonderfully.
Wow, what a crazy position this is.
Yeah, and
All
a
right,
very important one. Yeah, very important one for Yesipenko, because it looks super dangerous, but actually if things go wrong, that might be very, very nerve-wracking, because there is no safety net for white. Yeah, it's very good or actually not good at all.
Yeah, and for Jan-Krzysztof Duda as well, I mean, he's on 13 points and it's looking almost impossible. It is impossible for him to make it into the knockouts. But again, he can play spoiler to Esipenko's dreams of being there. Esipenko is at 21 points. So if he's able to survive this one, he's pretty much through. So once again, an important position for our standings. Peter, let's get an update on the Jan board against Ding. We felt that Jan needs to just calm down, and you said that that's what he's showing with his solid opening approach. The position that we have on the board right now, it's gone trade into a rook pawn ending, and I have a feeling that this white is a pawn up, but should this fizzle out into a draw, or is it still far from it?
No, I think this is very, very far from though. In fact, I think it's just winning for white. Now, for example, wow, you have rook takes d6, c takes b4, and then king f3 protecting the pawn, and okay, it should be a win. I'm assuming that it should be a win.
And take a look at Jan's clock. It's unbelievable. I mean, we're in this position. He's playing against world number 3. He has an extra pawn and he has more time than what he started with.
Yes, but okay, this game kind of I understand, because it's a very logical one. It involved heavy preparation. He knows the position, everything. However, also one should not forget that the first candidates is already 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean, how do you remember all these things? Yeah, he opts for BC, DC, check, and king f3.
King
I mean,
F3.
Yeah, the king is coming closer. Will guard the DC pawn. White will then stop any kind of c5, c4. Yeah, that's the key. Black needs c5, c4 to trade this c pawn for the d pawn. Then it's theoretical draw. But if you don't get it, then king e3 and slowly advancing the pawns should actually give a relatively smooth technical win for white.
Oh, this is going to hurt Dinglerin a lot if he loses this one, Peter, because I have a feeling that would mean the end of his chances pretty much. Well, it does depend on some of the other results, but this is just such a crucial game for Ding, and a loss would be very painful for Dinglerin.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, basically then he cannot qualify for sure.
Yeah, I think he can't qualify then.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's get an update on some of our other boards and look at the position on the Magnus Shark matchup. Oh my God, there are too many pieces and too many pawns on the board. What is going on here? Peter, wow, this is complex.
Yeah, this is this typical G3 King's Indian with the big twist that white was somehow provoked or forced to go a to a4, which usually people say that you shouldn't, because then black gets both squares, the b4 and the c4 squares. However, Magnus probably says like, you know what? Yes, you got all these pieces, but actually I have this lovely center, so I'm kind of ignoring these guys. But black will go bishop c8. He will just be super solid. I mean, I feel that black, okay, now knight d2, things escalate because pawn on d6 is hanging. There are all kinds of tactics with e4, e5 in the air, with the knight on c5 hanging. This will actually heat up now.
Yeah, it's that kind of position which is a time bomb. It can explode at any moment with any of the breaks. Knight e2, as you mentioned, just eyeing that d file. Breaks like e5 with a knight jumping into e4, big threats. Also, black has got h5 in. So at some point, maybe to play h4, but whenever black goes h4, white is ready to go g4.
Yes, I mean, you always have to keep an eye. That's why knight d2 is also very, very nice, because the knight protects the f4 pawn, protects the c3 knight. And yeah, now Shakhriyar needs to think, needs to be very, very focused, because there are so many tactics. One has the feeling if he manages to pass this moment, yeah, this critical moment that nothing happens to him, then his position is super stable and he can just sit there and wait for Magnus to, maybe overstretch. Yeah, because that's the thing, kind of. White would love to do something, but maybe black's position is so solid that just staying put is the best, objectively best thing to do. But at the moment, there are all these tactical possibilities. e4, e5, bishop takes c5, then bishop on d7 is hanging, pawn on d6 is hanging. So one of the big questions, can black actually play the move bishop c8 or not? Yeah, let's take a look like e4, e5, and then the queen just simply retreats to e7. And the bishop on east is also hanging.
So you can't take on d6 because there's queen e3.
Yeah, and then there are moves like queen g1, an aesthetically pleasing move like protecting and putting pressure. However, maybe black can simply play b6. What happened?
Because you're still not threatening to take on d6 because of the threat on e3.
Bishop c8 on the board. Yeah, bishop c8 on the board. Okay.
So at least he's fighting against the bishop c5 threat. Peter, this is a very rich middle game, and it looks like it's going to be a long fight. Let's take a look at something that's an absolute contrast to this, which is Nordebek against Levon. A lot of trades have happened. A very important game for both these players, point-wise, tournament situation-wise. A5 played, rook takes f4. I was just going to say pawn captured. And this means, but black doesn't really end up with an extra pawn because the rook activity is going to win that pawn back. Black has to either step back with the king to f8 and then even a move like rook b7.
Yes, okay, the pawn on h4 is still hanging, so maybe you will have to, but where do you go? Because if you go king f8, I might keep on checking you, yeah, with rook a8, and after king f7 I will give another check, yeah, and there is no really good square to run, because if you run to h5,
g6, there's h5.
Yeah, h5 check, then you box your king to h6, and then maybe this e-pawn will become very, very dangerous. It's kind of risky. I don't believe that black can play for a win here like this.
So if he doesn't go king, he's gone for king f8. So we might actually see a repetition then with rook a8, king e7, rook a7.
Yeah, the only problem for Lev is that the draw is not good, but also for Nordebek, draw is not that good. So they are kind of both unhappy if they really have to end this game in perpetual check.
Well, for Nordebek, it's not an absolute disaster, right? Because he's on 19 points, Levon is on 18 points. So I think for Levon, it's going to hurt more, the draw.
Yes, but the point is that after king g6, h5 check, king h6, anyway, you don't have any winning chances.
Yeah.
But you definitely have some losing chances. Yeah. So basically, just not worth it. Yeah. It basically, it's suicidal. Makes no sense to risk it. And
I think if Lev draws this one, then it sort of depends on the other results, and Lev will have to go all out in the next one. He will have the white pieces. And I think that makes a lot more sense to go for that kind of a tournament situation than to go extra here with a move like king g6, h5, box your own king, lose all activity. Levon has just survived that scare against Magnus. Peter, rook a7 check given. Undoubtedly, Levon's thinking whether to go king g6 or not. But I have a feeling we're going to see a repetition here.
I also believe that we're gonna see a repetition. Everything else looks just too crazy. And even if it's not a repetition, even if it's king a g6, it's not a winning attempt. I mean, it's a wheel to fight on. It's a wheel, yeah. And king g6 on the board.
On the board.
It's on the board. I mean, of course, Levon has to. Basically, he feels that he has to try. But if he would have been so happy, he would have blitzed this move out immediately. So king g6, rook b7 on the board. Rook b4.
The fighting chess index is super high. And the point here is that now rook h4 is not possible because rook b6 wins the bishop on b3.
Yeah, but okay, anyway, Levon's idea, I guess, is to play rook b4 here. Yeah, rook b4 on the board.
All right, well, at least now White has to still find a way of starting to push that e-pawn, which isn't all that easy or clear. So how he starts with taking the king out first.
Yeah, he plays king e3. Okay, it also gives black some time to stabilize the position. Then there are also some ideas like f4, queen f5, but then of course pawn on g7, h7 will fall. You will get the e5 pawn, but that's very, very drawish. So he shouldn't be doing it. Okay, this is quite a technically drawish position. Maybe we should move on. Let's take a look.
Maybe at the cost in your game, Peter, because Eric Hansen looks like he's in a bit of trouble. Well,
yeah, Eric
might be more than a bit of trouble.
Well, objectively, yes, but I still like what he's doing because he was in trouble anyway, regardless. But at least with his two knights, he's jumping. And I know exactly that in such situations, like Alexandra would love to get some, technical position where she knows everything is under control. But with this nice jumping, you have there is a chance that eventually you miss something. It's not a risk-free clear advantage.
Yeah, and actually knight b2 is a big threat. I'm just wondering if there is a way White can't take advantage of the pin along the d file, because you always have knight e2. The queen is attacked and you've got to find a way to defend the b2 pawn. If you take, the knight takes b2, bishop c3, and now maybe you just take and go knight e2.
Exactly, but also the big question is then, however, there is a mating idea on g7,
so king h2.
King h2, but even like moves like knight takes c3 looks possible. Besides, also
or even
maybe
just queen g5, Peter, in such a position.
Yeah, queen g5. Of course, if you have good nerves, then go queen g5. If you just want to calculate till, okay, even I have knight c3 and it will anyway not happen. Yeah, it's kind of enough to think like this. But yeah, Alexander has to find the move. I mean, queen d5 looks like maybe a safe way, but with queen d5, it also, you have the feeling that you might be giving up on advantage. Yeah, and that's also not something she wants, because she feels that this should be her chance to, I don't say it to win, but to hope for something in this game.
Down to 3.5 minutes on the clock, a promising position, but we know the knights are always tricky, so still has to be a little careful. So Peter suggests a bailout, going into an endgame with a move like queen d5, trading off, but then that means that Eric will at least win the pawn back. So we'll keep an eye out on this one, Peter.
Yeah, no, you misunderstood me. I'm not suggesting queen d5, because I just feel like, from White side, it comes to your mind that maybe I have queen d5 as a bailout, but you want to win. So it's more like an emergency move.
But it's also so dangerous to keep the queens on board in this one, with the knights on jumping knight e2, these lines that we saw with the queen jumping to g5, and it's on the board. Yeah, she's gone for queen d5.
Yeah, it's on the board. Yeah, because after all, if this knight b2 and then you move but still the big question is, where do you move this rook? Yeah, so after knight b2, do you play some rook d1? I mean, these knights are really bothering.
So after rook e1, how would black react here?
Yeah,
because you don't want to give control of the e file to White.
Yeah, this is kind of the critical position. Yeah, because if black loses the momentum, then of course the two bishops will be just wonderful. Yeah, and the knights will start to feel loose. So if something, then black needs to, my calculation was kind of queen takes d5, bishop d5, rook e d8, rook b1 on the board, knight takes b2, rook b1 played.
It's also so important for Alexandra to just keep it together, because Peter, we've seen her have so many good positions. She's been playing fighting chess here, get good positions against these guys, but somehow at the very end, something goes wrong. So I think it's really, really crucial to just keep calm and cool in this position. Well, at least the good news is that the clock situation is equal.
Yeah, clock situation equal. There is a lot of tension on Eric. Yeah, there is a lot at stake for him in this game. So difficult also to kind of understand what is really happening here. Yeah, it's such a complex position.
All right, we'll come back to this and see how Alexandra and Eric manage it. Let's get an update on the Jan versus Ding board. A very important game for Ding, and Peter. The material is equal finally, and I'm just wondering if Ding will survive this one now.
Yeah, maybe he will survive. It's still kind of dangerous, because there are all kinds of ideas with this active rook, but certainly what happened in the last couple of moves. So yeah, Jan was going for activity, stopping g6, g5, but he gave back the pawn. And the big question is check, check, rook d1. That is it holdable, or is it just long terms very dangerous that white pushes d6 and then tries to go rook f8, and after king e6 tries to play rook e8 check and then rook e7, but it seems like black will create counter chances with king f5. It's not, I'm not seeing yet the winning method for white.
Okay, so still some pressure, but h4, he decides to go for counter activity immediately. But is this a good idea? Because this pawn can be lost kind of immediately, no? Can white just go rook h8?
Yeah, you can, but yeah, rook h8 on the board, but one has the feeling that some rook d4, I mean, somehow some break should work now in black's favor.
With rook d4, there might be king e3, no?
Yeah, rook d3, king e3, it might still, maybe even a passive defense like rook h1 is possible. Of course, I'm not, no, then king g2, no, rook h1 is terrible.
And Ding having a think now. And look at the clock situation, 14 minutes to 2.5 minutes. So there's a lot of pressure on that as well. Ding needs to hold this game to have a real chance at qualifying, because he's just on 18 points and currently on 10th place. So very crucial moment for him, this end game.
Yeah, this is yeah, he goes g5. Yeah, he breaks the structure. Yeah, first g5. It looks like it should work.
Also, I just noticed something drastic has happened on the Nordebek Levon board. I just saw the bar go completely crazy. I think Nordebek might have made a big mistake.
Well, I mean, humanly speaking, it looks that nothing really changed. I mean, it looks like maybe something improved for white, but still it's,
yeah, not
really, I mean, something
understanding.
improved for black, but white is still kind of in the game. He relies on the e pawn. The big question is, can you really capture this h4 pawn? Yeah, if you can collect and you are in time to, for example, let's take a look, rook h4, you probably have to push the e6 pawn, and then if the king is in time to come back, like king g7, e7, king f6, but you have the move rook a8 hitting the bishop. Yeah, that's kind of the problem. So this straightforward, very easy way of bringing the king back doesn't work.
But I'm just wondering, Peter, in that last position, rook h4, this line that you were looking at, rook h4. And can black actually try to fight with rook h1, rook e1 ideas?
Yes, you can. Okay, probably I will stop it with king f2. At least I will try to stop with king f2. Rook h4 on the board.
Rook h4 played.
Yeah, rook h4 played. We still didn't get here, but yeah, e6 on the board as well.
So we might be seeing what black has in mind against the pawn, because he's got to stop at e7, rook moves. And as you were pointing out, king g7 doesn't work. Rook h1, king f2.
Yeah, rook a4. Yeah, this was the other defense, that after e7 you go back rook a7. Yeah,
very nice.
This is very nice, and it might be just winning. Yeah, because after e7 you go rook a7 and you are setting bishop f7 back. So bishop c6 is played.
C6,
yeah,
bishop d7.
Yeah, white wants to get this bishop to d7, so the battle goes on. But yeah, the bishop also cannot get to d7 while the rook is on the fourth, because then black will have rook e4, and Levon plays b5. Yeah, masterly played.
So bishop b5, rook e4. If you pick up the e6 pawn, then it's pretty much game over, because as you say, the soul of white's position is that e6 pawn. And e7 now runs into rook a7. Bishop takes b5, that's bishop f7.
Yeah, it looks like this b5 maybe seals it, because now white's king is really so unfortunate on e3. And the coordination, well, yeah, bishop d7, but now rook e4 check is coming. And then you will also have b4
as well.
Yeah, no, this is now lost. I mean, wow, very, very important win for Lev. Very, very important one, yeah.
Where does that place us? So Levon with 18 points, if he does convert this, which looks like he has really good chances to do that. He is going to go to 21 points. Yeah, there's going to be a bit of twist and turn around in our leaderboard if Lev manages to convert this position. Peter, meanwhile, we've had a draw on the Jan Ding board. So Ding still holding on to some chances. We're going to see how the other results turn out. But at least Ding has survived a complete no to his qualification, which would have happened had he lost the game. And Esipenko, Jan-Krzysztof, Duda, do you want to take a look at that one?
Yeah, well, that game is still on, and Yesipenko down to 30 seconds. I mean, it looks like he's in lot of trouble. I mean, I would almost upload, I would really love to upload Black's strategy in this game. I mean, it looked, like you said, that it looked very dangerous, but it seemed to me like Jan-Krzysztof knew exactly what he's up to in this position, and then also finding this Queen e7, King d8, King c7 maneuver. This King maneuver was just beautiful. And it looks like he's having a strategically winning position. Wow. It's still very, very tricky because White also has some trumps. I mean, the two rooks on the f5, but Black seems to, for example, if Black can go g4 and h4, then it's a clear win. And now the pawn on h5 is hanging. And clearly, if Black pushes h4, then White will close the king side with g3, g4. So still not that clear. Not that clear. I mean, let's get back to Alexander's position. What is this? Because this is now massive. Look at this. According to computer, Alexander is close to winning against Eric, but Eric is jumping with his knights. White seems to be coordinating. Okay, watch out for some Queen a1 check. Both players down to a minute. Both players down to a minute. Yeah, very, very tense moment for Alexander. Hans Niemann won against Prague. This is, of course, very, very big news for Hans that, okay, finally he gets a win. At the same time, very, very painful loss for Prague. Now his chances of qualifying are gone. And Vincent is in trouble. I mean, Vincent is also in a lot of trouble against against Lek van Gliem. Pawn down, okay, some chances to survive, but being pawn down and also low on the clock.
Or can he try and go bishop h3 and try and create some chances with the e-pawn?
Yes, but okay, bishop h3, then d4 comes. Yeah, bishop h3, d4, it's...
Bishop d7, you'll go rook e7.
Yeah, bishop, I mean, pawn is a pawn, and somehow also Black's bishops are very
what
nice.
About rook c1 now?
Yeah, rook c1, yeah, rook c1 is nice. Rook c1 is nice. But still, I mean, with 1 minute on the clock, being pawn down, lot at stake. I'm super nervous. I hope that Vincent can focus on the game and not be, bishop h3 on the board.
Bishop h3 on the board. He's trying to create his play, Peter, and both players down to a minute. So not easy for Liam as well. He goes king e7, so stopping the threat of bishop d7 or e6. I think the d5 pawn needs to be there. But
hang on, sorry, Tanya. Breaking news: Alexander has won against Eric Hansen, checkmating Eric Hansen on the back rank. The last couple of moves had been, this was the position that we have seen. Alexander played the move rook d3, and after rook b8, queen c7, queen a1 check, king h2, knight takes f2, it looked like Eric will create counterplay against White's king, but there was queen takes b8, beautiful queen sacrifice, and after knight b8, rook d8, checkmate is coming. I told you this is a very dangerous moment for Eric.
This is GG to Alexandra, Peter. I mean, it's been such a tough event, but she's been fighting it out in every game. And I think she tweeted as well, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And Eric, who's had a fantastic event, Alexandra Kostyuk beats him. And actually, the whole game, she really kept up the pressure. And it was quite great play from White's side from start to finish. And this beautiful end, sacrificing the queen and a back rank mate, you gotta love it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful finish for Alexandra. I think everybody was rooting for her to get the win. Of course, now very, very unfortunate moment for Eric. I mean, this really hurts him, but he still has all the chances to qualify, so nothing is lost. Levon has managed to win that game against Abdusattorov, so very, very important win for him. And Magnus has won. Magnus has won against...
sudden collapse in this game, yeah, with Magnus and Shak.
Yeah, we haven't, maybe if in the break we will have a chance to take a closer look.
Live action.
Yeah, Artemiev drew with Anish, and then basically it brings us to Vincent's trying to defend this position. which is already kind of looks defensible, but still this rook bishop versus rook bishop is always a bit tricky.
But also now, Peter, the material's equal. White's rook is active. The only problem is this a4 pawn is fixed on the light square. So black has this thing about that he can start attacking it with moves like bishop b3 and rook e4. But the f pawn, I mean, this is definitely better than what we saw a couple of moves ago. And I love this move bishop e6 because now he wants to go f5 and start pushing his own pawns. Plus, he's putting pressure on the d5 pawn, stopping the move d4. So super alert play by Vincent.
Yeah, there are good chances to hold it now. I mean, it looks like should be holdable. Yeah, rook f8 played. F5 should be played as well, but black still has some, I mean, practical chances. Yeah, the black king with king d6, king e5 can nicely control this f pawn and the bishop on e6. Somehow I feel that this cemented bishop on c4, this gives the advantage for black, and this drives me a bit crazy. That despite the position looking like it should be a simple draw, it isn't so simple at all. Still a lot to play for, and Vincent is too low on the clock.
Can he start getting his king now? King f2?
Yeah, probably he has to, but where is it going? Yeah, you play king
f2,
e5.
King e5, king e3, but maybe you can start with bishop d3, but then king e3 anyway.
Yeah, but king e5, and for example, after king e3, there is something like rook b8. Because now the king really dominates this bishop and the pawn, and then rook b3 comes. Rook h1, I kind of like it. Yeah, Vincent wants to kick this king away from e5, so that rook e1 check, and then king e3, king d4. If he can block it, even if he loses the a4 pawn, it should be fine. Bishop d3, strong move. Trying to get
you're
the
hitting
bishop.
the f5 pawn.
Yeah, might win the but also he has bishop e4 against rook e1 check. Very, very unpleasant endgame. With 10 seconds on the clock, I mean, engine bar, we see that the engine says it's kind of okay for white, but this is can be easily lost.
So check, and now if king d4, he wants to go rook d1, pin that bishop, and if bishop e4?
Yeah, bishop e4 is the move that, king d6, this little bit surprises me.
Well, at least he's threatening to win the pawn immediately with bishop f5, and I don't see a way for white to defend the pawn anymore.
Yeah, but maybe it's not even the worst thing to lose this pawn, because then you have rook b1 and rook b5, and that should be kind of drawish. Yeah, takes and rook b1. This is now rook b1 and rook b5 coming.
So rook, once the a5 pawn, if that falls, then this, and now he wants to go rook e4 just in time.
Yeah, but still but okay, now it's
tricky again, no?
It's very tricky. Yeah, now it's very tricky. Because we see the computer says that it's somehow not drawish, but this is, you need some miracle, yeah? And with rook a1, no, with rook a1, you're gonna lose. Yeah, only some study like computer line was that you could give up the pawn, and exactly this construction was somehow drawing. But with rook a1, no.
So human, because you never want to go with little time in these positions where you're struggling with two pawns. That's super hard decision to make, but rook a1, as we can see, and now there's just full activity for black. And after king c3, the rook will probably go back to h4 and start pushing it down from rook h3.
Yeah, this is now hopelessly lost. Yeah, it's I mean, I told you, yeah, that it looked like very drawish, but this incredible centralization, this pawn on d5 with the bishop and this active king was driving me crazy. I felt the danger, and yeah, this is now lost. And what about, let's move, because this is already even too set to look at.
Okay, so let's take a look at the only other remaining game, Asipienko against Jan-Krzysztof Duda. And what's going on here? So equal pawns, but white king looks a bit shaky.
Yeah, it's still super scary for white. Yeah, queen e2 has to be played. I mean, it feels very similar to the Vincent game, that it looks like almost fine, but still very, very unpleasant. Black's king is super safe. White's king is in some kind of danger, but still, I actually prefer this position of Andrei than to that of Vincent, because it feels like, you know, with rook g3 and then with the g pawn, you have counterplay. It's not so simple for black. Yeah, rook g7, rook g3. I'm expecting, yeah, rook g3, and there is something to worry about. Yeah, there is something to worry about.
So well, he stops the counterplay with g5, taking control, and now white's he does have a move like queen f3, but that allows queen e1 check. So you kind of don't want to make that move. So he goes king. I like this, Peter, because he's now threatening to activate his own queen with maybe queen f3.
Yeah, d5, queen f3, because now, of course, the rook is blocking the pawn, but rook is itself blocked on g5. Yeah, it's not a happy rook at all.
And queen d2 check, you always have rook g2.
Rook g2, yeah. Andre is fighting.
Both players are fighting.
Yeah, both. Yeah, I mean, Jan-Krzysztof was provoking Andre for all these adventures at the beginning, and then very nicely outplaying him. But Andre is hanging on. The problem
is I don't see where this queen is going, because yes, you have a check on f7, but black's king is ultra safe on b6 and queen d2. I'm expecting rook g2 here.
Yeah, rook g2, queen e1, and queen g3. Something like this looks very logical. I mean, rook g2, queen e1, and queen g3.
But you can also just keep the queens on the board. No, queen h4 is just a check, right? We have it on the board.
Yeah, queen g3 on the board. I mean, okay, stability. Yeah, it's always the most important thing. Yeah, just stability.
And do you think if the queens did get traded, like queen g3, king g3, white might actually start putting pressure with the g4 pawn?
Definitely. I mean, black will never allow the trade. Yeah, queen c1 is played.
Well, you don't have queen h4, unfortunately, hitting the rook because the e3 pawn is hanging. Maybe time to come back, go queen f3.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because also you activate your queen and threaten all kinds of checks. But you have to, yeah, queen f2 played. You have to watch out for some timely rook return, like rook g7, and then not that you run into some rook h7 checkmate ideas.
And I like rook g7. You might be seeing that on the board right now.
Yeah, and then
maybe
how
after
do
rook
you?
g7,
Yeah,
he goes
king
king
b6.
b6. Does this not allow? He does. Okay, rook g1 hitting the queen first. I'm just wondering e4 check at some point, but then you've got d4.
Yeah, e4, d4. That would be good news for white. I mean, for black. Queen b2. Now the queen is a little bit off, but it's only for the moment. Yeah, it's only temporary. If black gets the coordination, then it's no problem. Yeah, so queen c3 on the board.
20 seconds for Andrei Asipenko, and this rook on g5. Once, if white can get that to move away, then you can actually start pushing that pawn. But black maintaining pressure on all of white's pawns makes it impossible for the queen on f2 to jump into attack from f6. King h3, that's an interesting, unexpected move.
Yeah, trying to use the momentum of, but e5, e4. Yeah, that's the point.
Queen
and
h8 coming in now.
Yes, okay. Queen h8, queen h4 is not the end of the day, but still the problem is that now black's queen is so wonderful on c3 and black's king on b6 hiding from all the checks. Now queen h8
this is
check.
a very tensed position, and playing this on seconds is just incredible. So rook falls back. This does give white the opportunity to go g5, but rook f8, rook f3. Watch out for rook f8, rook f3. Yeah,
this basically brings us that maybe white has to play rook f2, but then some queen h1 might enter. Yeah, that's very, very nasty, because now this is the threat.
Asipenko shaking his head. He knows he's walked into a bit of danger, and now he needs to find a bailout for this idea of the rook getting activated. He goes rook h2. Well, at least immediately it's not possible. And queen c3.
Yeah, g5 pushed, but the g pawn is now very vulnerable. Yeah, Andrei was definitely not happy pushing this pawn to g5.
And you got queen e1 check as well, Peter, here.
Yes, queen e1, rook f2, I'm guessing.
And queen g1, you just go rook g2?
Yes, queen g1,
so
rook
you're
g2.
Going to repeat then.
That doesn't hurt me, but yeah, queen e1 check, rook f2, maybe rook h8 will be very, very scary. Yeah, king g2 played. He doesn't want to give up the h file.
It's funny how white with the rook is maintaining the h file and the queen maintains the f file. So black's rook is, because if black rook finds a way into one of the open files, it's going to be game over.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the key. Now queen e2 check, king g3 will be played.
It's amazing how these players in these kind of positions and playing on seconds just don't blunder or make a mistake. I would have done that about like 30 moves ago.
Yeah, that's one of the main skills, yeah, of this online. And rook h7. So for the first time, there is some threat with queen c7 check. but black can simply just move the king and king a6. He can even take on c2 with check. Hang on, so did Andre miss something, or and queen takes b3, protecting the b7 pawn? So queen c7 check just runs into king a6 and queen protects on b7.
And e3 is hanging as well.
E3 is hanging, yeah. Wow, this is
bad news for Andre. d4 is a big threat in this position.
Yeah, there are now all kinds of threats, yeah, because white's king is still very, very loose.
Andre shaking his head.
Yeah, and we are seeing, yeah, all the players who are about to qualify, they are Andrei Yasipenko in a lot of trouble. Eric Hansen lost. Vincent actually went on to lose, yeah, Leko Tania, then showed superb technique. Hans Niemann beat Pragnanda. That's what I told you, that those guys who have nothing to lose, they will be very, very dangerous. Yeah, it's just the way it is. King g4, queen d1, actually now it's kind of game over, because you can't.
Queen g1 check. If king g3, there's queen g1, which actually wins the rook on h7.
And king f5 runs into rook f8 check and winning the queen. So yeah, basically it's resigns now.
Oh wow, he actually ends up losing the rook or the queen. And that's it. Andrei Yasipenko resigns. A very tough loss for him. And as you were saying, that there are players who don't have a shot at qualifying, but they are playing big spoilers to the guys who are really fighting for their life to make it through. Peter, what a round this was. 6 out of 8 decisive games. We can see a very disappointed Yasipenko. He did have things under control to a certain point, but it was a tough game from the start. A very interesting one, because it looked like black was the one who was all tied up in the opening, but creative play by Jan-Krzysztof Duda, and he wins. Let's take a look at our results. There's just one more game remaining going into the final game of the day, really. And this is where we are at. Vladislav Artemiev, Anish Giri. This was quite a calm game. I had my eye out on it, Peter. Not much happened here. I think both these players are just happy to draw against each other. They don't want to take too much risk and too much chances at this stage of the event. Magnus Carlsen against Shakhriyar. It felt a lot like what happened in the Tata Steel Masters game, that something just collapsed for Shak suddenly. And again, a complex opening, and then something goes wrong. That was the narrative in this one as well, with Magnus winning. And I think with that, he's confirmed his spot into the quarterfinals. Nordebek lost to Levon Aronian, a very important win for Lev, who's still on the edge of qualification. Andrei Yasipenko, a big loss for him against Jan-Krzysztof Duda. We're going to look at the standings after this, but it looks like he might have to win the next one. Jan Napomniachtchi, Ding Liren ended in a draw, keeping Ding's hopes alive. Alexander Kostyniuk scored a win against Eric Hansen, the player who's been playing phenomenal chess. Kostyniuk strikes back and finally wins the game, and in a stylish manner. Queen b8, delivering a back rank checkmate. Vincent Keymer, a painful loss to Leko Tania. This puts Vincent's chances in danger for the qualification, and Hans Niemann won against Prague. We've got about 5 minutes to lift off. Let's quickly take a look at our standings. We are going into the final round, which will determine who are the 8 qualifiers for the knockout stages. It will be the end of the road for the bottom half of the table after the next round. So only 8 players will remain, and this is where we are at. If the tournament finished right now, the qualifiers finished right now, it would be the top 8, the top left, the left bracket that you see that would make it through, which would mean that Anish Giri would be out, Ding Liren would be out, Shakhriyar Mamedyarov would be out. So lots of heavyweights on the very edge. Jan Napomniachtchi, 28. Magnus Artemiev. Peter, what do you make of the standings? It's still a close fight. Who are the players who really need to be careful in the next round?
Well, I mean, it's a super scary situation there for all the guys on 5th place, yeah, with 21 points, Vincent included. There will be a very, very big match between Eric Hansen and Vincent Keymer in the last round. Yeah, that's also some of these games that is really nerve-wracking, because maybe it looks like, looking at the standings, that Eric might only need a draw to kind of more or less guarantee his spot, but of course only if the other results go his way as well, yeah? Because if those guys with 21 points win, or even these striking distance guys with 20 points and even with 19 win, that I know, but yeah, I think that for Eric Hansen, maybe draw is enough and he has the white pieces. But those are the most trickiest games when you don't know exactly for which result you have to play. Yeah, it's very, very tricky, because if you make a draw and it will not be enough, you will feel yourself like a complete idiot. Yeah, that why didn't I try? And it's not exactly Eric Hansen's style not to try. Yeah, I mean, he likes to play interesting games and so on. So I'm expecting a big fight. Lot of maneuvering, and there are some guys who need to win. They are like, for example, Ding Liren. He just needs to win at all cost. What is his pairing? Ding Liren plays against Alexander Kostenyuk. Yeah, then it was superbly important for Ding to have saved that game against Jan in the previous round.
Yeah, Ding's got to make the most of this one. He plays with the white pieces, and if he wins, then he's got a shot. While he might still need some results to go his way, but I think, Peter, as you were pointing out, the most important game for standings is actually between Eric and Vincent. And Vincent has to keep things under control. Right now, he's in the bracket, but just so close. It's just such a close fight with those places, with all those players from 21 points up until Ding Liren, who's at 19 points. Eric playing against Vincent, definitely a big matchup. Even Eric needs to be a little careful. We've got action starting in about 2 minutes. And Peter, there's a very cool format in this tournament that we have got this time a digital trophy. So of course it's the jump and the bump in the prize money that the players are fighting for with every win, but also for every tournament we've got a digital trophy for our winner as well as for the winner of the tour. Not just that, a copy of the digital trophy will be auctioned off, and that's our trophy right there on the screen.
Wow, looks beautiful. Yeah, looks really beautiful.
Peter, how are you feeling about this last game coming up?
Yeah, well, I'm super tensed, of course. I mean, I'm very much rooting for Vincent. Yeah, he played such an incredible event that, of course, it would be fantastic to qualify. On the other hand, there are all these brilliant guys. Yeah, everyone wants to qualify. There is also this incredible game between Levon Aronyan and Andrei Yesipenko. That's also a decisive game. Whoever wins there basically qualifies. Anish Giri against Magnus Carlsen. I mean, Anish, if he still wants to have a chance, he actually needs to beat Magnus. I mean, draw doesn't help him, so that's also an incredible pairing. Wow. Well, I mean, basically, wherever we look, there are some decisive games and so much to play for.
You know, and I have to say, Peter, we've been commentating on the tour, right? And I don't think we've had such a scenario where things are so uncertain simply because of the scoring system. Usually by the end of it, there's only a chance for a switch up on the 7th spot or the 8th spot. But here, there is just everything to fight for. There are 5 open places. Nobody is safe except the guys who are right at the top 3 players. And it's just going to be an epic round. I don't know, Peter. I want to run a poll, and we've got Magnus and Anish. This is our big game, and let's have a poll up and let's see what chat says. As you were pointing out, that for Anish, this is a very important game. If he has to qualify, he needs to keep things under control. We love this matchup whenever it happens for more reasons than one. Chat, tell us, what do you think will be the result of this one? Who are you rooting for? Let's run the poll.
Yeah, very, very important. And there is also another very important factor. Leko Tania has won 2 games today, beating Alexander Kostenyuk and beating Vincent Keymer. And now in the very last game, he has the white piece against Hans Niemann. I mean, also a very big chance for Leko Tania eventually to win another game and to collect the maximum points today, the 9 points. And we know exactly that by collecting 9 points, what it meant to Vladislava Artemiev yesterday. So actually, Leko Tania also has all the chances to qualify. And how is the poll going? Whom are the people rooting for?
I think we just put it on. We should have a result in a few minutes. We're going to give people some time to decide what they want, what they're looking forward to. It's always an exciting matchup to see Anish take on Magnus. Well, Magnus is in a happy position right now because his qualification is confirmed. So it's really full pressure on Anish. The good news for Anish fans is that he plays with the white pieces. And I think if you've got still a couple of seconds before liftoff, let's quickly bring the standings up on our screen so we know exactly where we are and our viewers know what the situation is. So as we can see that Anish at 20 points, Peter, this is make or break for him. In fact, I don't even know if a draw will be enough.
No, draw will definitely not be enough. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he needs to win or he's out. Yeah.
All right, and the big fight is really from the 5th place up until the 8th place. But I think Eric Hansen also needs to be a little careful. If things go wrong for Eric and if he actually loses this game, then he might need some of the other results to go his way. He is playing against Vincent at 21 points. We actually have matchups, Peter, which are just the perfect script for the end of the tournament.
Yes, super exciting. Yeah, definitely. I mean, okay, Vincent with the black pieces will also try, but there is also so much psychology. Yeah, that of course for Eric, if he would knew that he just plays for a draw and then he forces Vincent with the black pieces to go crazy and try to win, then of course Eric would take the safe approach. But if what happens if, for example, Vincent feels like, okay, with black, what can I do? Draw is good, and let's take a look if it's enough or not. So for this reason, Eric might also have to be aggressive from the white side. There's so much mind games going on. I think there is so much uncertainty between, I mean, in the players' minds that what they need, how should they approach this game? Because already during the game, I mean, trying to play one move for safety, one move for a win, that's how normally you end up losing, no matter if you are white or black.
And the other big matchup of Esipenko against Levon, both players at 21, both on the edge of it. I mean, this is a brilliant one as well. There's just so much at stake. And take a look at our screens. This is pretty much the last game that we've got all 16 players with us, as it will be goodbye for 8 of them after this one. We've got action on, and it's a Spanish, a Marshall is what we might be seeing, or an anti-Marshall. He goes for A4, a line that we saw a lot in the World Championship. So Peter, I'm expecting some great insights on this one.
Yeah, it's very, and A4 Rook B8. Okay, very interested. I mean, I want to see Anish showing his preparation. I mean, he was commenting afterwards. He was, I mean, during the match, I think he was already analyzing.
Yes.
I'm very curious to see how he will approach this in a so-called must-win situation. Yeah, it's.
I mean, Peter, this is a dream, right? We have Magnus here who's playing the Marshall. Anish was commentating on the match. You had prepared Jan for this opening. So, I mean, what more could we ask for in this matchup?
Yeah, but the point is that usually in this opening, White has to take a very slow approach. Yeah, it's not about trying to win or anything. White would love to maintain the pressure, maintain the tension, and keep Black slightly passive. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And then the big question is the mindset. Yeah, that if you feel like you need to win, then with White you would love to be more aggressive. But to be more aggressive, this is not the right opening. Yeah, here you have to take everything step by step. And it suits Anish's style. Definitely it suits Anish's style, of course. He likes these small little grounding things. But Magnus has also shown during the match that he's incredibly precise in this type of position. Now he goes bishop d7, not the most natural move, but Black has some ideas like rook a8, yeah, trying to get the a file. Sometimes also queen c8, bishop e6 is a typical slow anti-Marshall idea. I mean, there are all kinds of finesses. Yeah, let's see how it goes.
Well, I've got my eye out on the vote. I think we're going to wait for 1,000 votes before we take a decision. We've got about 900 plus right now. Very big match. And I see my screen, Peter, when this is on and when you're explaining, and it's literally all the experts in the Marshall that we can hope for. It's, of course, an opening that's also very close to your heart from the World Championship match against Kramnik as well. Yes, here we have an anti-Marshall, which was just very recently seen. Peter, is this what happened in the match as well? Rook b8 was tried in one of the games, no?
Yeah, Rook b8 was definitely tried, but yeah, there are so many different move orders. Do you start with h3? Do you start with d3? What do you allow? And so on. And you see now Anish is also taking his time because there are all kinds of these small little moves. Magnus also spent some time trying also to remember, yeah, because there are millions of nuances of this position. Yeah, that's why it's so tricky, and also when you are preparing, it's almost impossible to prepare it because both sides have so many slightly different options, and usually every time you have to react differently. Yeah, that's the real mastery in this position. You cannot just so-called learn that, aha, I play like this, and then my next move is gonna be this, and this. You have to adjust after every single move your move orders. I'm also seeing that, yeah, we have some games which are so important. Yeah, Levon Aronyan against Andrei Yesipenko. This is some big theoretical battle in the Italian. Knight G4. I mean, usually I think one of the things that people say that Knight G4 and H6, they don't work together so well, but White has also played a little bit too provocatively. So yeah, look at this. Andrei Yesipenko goes for Knight G4, Rook E2, Knight A5, hitting the bishop, and insisting that if you play Bishop C2, which I'm basically expecting, then Black wants to go F7, F5 immediately. Super wild stuff.
This
Super
is
wild
incredible.
stuff.
Both players, Andrei Yesipenko on 6th place, Levon on 8th place. Both players have 21 points. A draw might mean both of them are out. So they need to be super careful in this one. Peter, let's get an update on the Ding Liren board, who is in a must-win situation. He's playing with the white pieces against the lowest rated player in the tournament, Alexandra.
Yeah, and it looks like that Ding managed to trick Alexandra in the opening. I mean, what was it? It's this type of stuff. AC, Rook B8. I mean, Rook B8, I don't know what is the, and B4, E6. I mean, usually if White gets B4 in so quickly and so easily, it's good news for White in this opening. And Alexandra already spent, I don't know, 3 minutes for this construction. I'm not believing in this. Usually, if you play this line with Black, you have to know exactly move per move what you are doing, because if White gets strategically achieve something, then this position can be simply very, very good for White.
All right, meanwhile, Peter, the poll results I'm being told are in, and it's quite even in the Anish Magnus matchup. 39% feel that it's going to be Magnus's game, 31% for a draw. Draw means Anish is out, and Anish win 28%. Very close fight, not just over the board, but between our audience as well.
Yeah, look at this. It's the tension is building up. So after Bishop D7, Knight C3, Black used this typical move, Knight B4. Yeah, that's very, very typical. Fighting for the D5 square and also opening up the way for the C pawn. Knight E2 is played. Yeah, White is immediately trying to get his knight to G3, C5, Knight G3, Queen C7, Bishop D2. Yeah, you have to be careful because moves like C3 might run into Knight takes D3, and this is really bad news for White. Queen takes D3, C4, losing the light square bishop in this position is quite deadly. I mean, you just cannot let this happen. So that's why the small little move Bishop D2 kicking back this knight from B4, and after Knight C6, White opted for Bishop G5, which indicates that after H6 he wants to trade on F6. Yes, H6 on the board. Bishop F6, Bishop F6. Played. And Knight F1,
and
yeah.
Now that's nice. I like this. I like this because he's rerouting the knight to E3 and then jumping into D5.
Yeah, it's, I mean, all this is fairly standard. It's very, very natural. And the big question is that finally what it gives, yeah, because Black will always have the chance of meeting it with Knight E7. Usually Black plays like G6, Bishop G7, and then Knight E7 guarding this D5 square. I mean, yeah, the high level positional strategical battle is on. And
all right, we'll keep an eye out on this one. Do you want to do a quick opening tour, Peter? Let's take a look at the Artemiev Prague game. And I'm also going to tell you what Artemiev currently on 24 points, though. So he's pretty safe on his qualification. What do you make out of the position that we have out of the opening?
Okay, first view is that White has some small advantage. Yeah, Black is a little bit passive, but Black is super solid. It's typical of Vladislav. He doesn't want to confront the opponent in the opening. He just wants to get some stable position where he knows what to do. And I feel like now, for example, also something like Knight D4, Queen D4, Bishop E6. And then after getting ready for G6, Bishop G7, and then probably moving the knight to D7. Wow, D5, immediately he tries to use the momentum with D5.
But what is the momentum? So the idea is E takes D5 is not possible because Rook E1, Queen E1, Knight D4 wins the piece. So you've got to be careful of that tactic. And what is the plan if white captures with the knight on c3? Do you just simply take the e4 pawn? But that looks very risky.
No, I think then you also take on d5, yeah, because you can't take bishop d5, yeah, that's the trick. Then takes
Ooh,
c6.
and c6, very nice.
Pins, yeah, that's the justification. So basically white will then probably have to take on c6 at some moment. I mean, after knight d5, you can still take on c6, but this
But that's
feels
fine, because now you take on c6, and after e takes d5, you take on e1 and you take on d5.
exactly, and it looks superbly fine for black. So this is not the danger. So yeah, very, very interesting spot there by Artemiev with d6, d5.
And a precise moment to spot this tactic. But usually, Peter, in these lines, black is not able to get the d5 break so quickly, so early on. The general idea is that if black gets a successful d5, black's doing fine. So Prag might have been a little inaccurate in the opening to allow this.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure which opening was it. I mean, it's probably Italian because it's not Spanish. That's the trick, that it's not the Steinitz variation of the Spanish. It's Italian with bishop e7. And this is a little bit different, yeah, because here white is trying with this a4, a5. He's also losing some time. So it has a completely different dynamic. And rook e8, he wants to just go bishop f8 and then bishop e6. So white plays h3, stopping any kind of bishop g4s. Bishop f8, d4, takes, and d5. Yeah, basically it's very logical. I mean, it's a stunning strike in the center. We also see that for some reason engine bar says that there is some reaction for white to keep some advantage. For the moment, the first thought is more like I'm really impressed by d5, and I feel that black should be fine. But okay, this is not such a decisive game for the qualification, so let's move on. Let's move to
Leko Tania. Peter, maybe okay, you want to let's take a look at Vincent Eric. Very important game.
Yeah, very, very important game. And Eric Hansen up on the clock. Yeah, Eric Hansen is up on the clock. It's a I would say fairly balanced position, but maybe actually this has gone more Eric's way, because he has more experience in this structure. He's up on the clock. Yeah, Vincent moves his queen to d8. The big question, yes, because the point was that this rook takes a3 was very, very timely, since after d6, d5 with black would love to use this rook on a3, runs into rook c3, hitting the queen, and then white will get e4, e5. And this case, this whole plan is not good. So queen d8 is played with the idea to go d6, d5, but now it feels like white has some momentum. I mean, moves like queen a1 a question, then does black play d5? Maybe black anyway plays d5 and ignores the a5 pawn, just to break the structure. Queen a1,
but
queen
then can't white react with e5 here? And then you just take on a3, yeah?
Then I take on a3, yeah. Of course, it might be dangerous. It might be dangerous on the king side, but I have to take this risk. Yeah, takes. I'm coming back with the bishop.
F8 takes on g7, and it might not be enough, you're saying.
And I'm coming with knight f6. I'm coming with bishop a6. At least it's a very risky, speculative sacrifice from white side.
Knight
probably
h5, knight g5. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's super sharp, but I feel like, you know, it's too much risk to take. White, after all, seems to have a stable advantage, because white somehow has very nice pieces. This bishop on d3, bishop on d2 gives a lot of stability.
Control, space, a5 weakness.
Yeah, gives a lot of stability. A5 weakness, yeah, that's the trick, because if black could somehow get the pawn to a4 and protect it, it would be good, but a4 is not possible to do to rook takes a4. However, black is threatening with this d6, d5, and white needs to react. He might need to make a move.
Peter, how do you explain this last move that Vincent made with queen d8?
Yes, that's the last move.
But I'm just wondering why queen d8?
Well, to step out from this rook c3, yeah,
rook
he wants to go
idea.
d5, yeah. He wants to step out. It looks a bit awkward, yeah. It doesn't look so natural, because it feels like this case white should have chances to get the advantage, but we see Eric is thinking for like 2.5 minutes already. It's also not so easy to find the best move for white. All right, let's move on. This is still a middle game.
Let's take a look at the Leko Liam hand sport, because Leko Liam also in shaky waters with his standing right now. He needs to try to win this one. A draw would mean he'd need other results to go his way. Peter, this looks like it's going to be tough to at least win. I mean, it looks like as though black should be absolutely fine in this.
No. Don't be fooled. I mean, this knight on c6 is not stable. Yeah, if there would be a black pawn on b7 and rook on a8, I think that, yeah, black should be super solid. But like this, I'm feeling worried for black. This knight on c6, the only problem for white is at the moment the back rank. Yeah, so if any back rank move like h2 h3 is useful, the big question is, do you want to trade a pair of rooks or not? Do you go rook dc1? I feel that probably it's more important to create the Luft and then try to target this knight on c6. I do feel that this is very dangerous for black.
Very dangerous for black. Yeah, that's quite interesting, this evaluation, considering with the equal material and black having control of the open files. But you're saying that the bishop is often stronger than the knight in these positions, especially because there's the a pawn alive as well.
Exactly, yeah. A pawn is alive, and also the, yeah, h3 played. I love this. Yeah, and black's pawn on e5 is a bit committal. Pawn on e6 would be more welcome. Yeah, h3, h6 are played, because black would love to get queen to e6. I mean, if black somehow gets coordinated and stabilizes his position, then he should more or less be fine. But still, white has the chance to get a long-term initiative here.
All right, I see some forcing action in the Eric game, Peter, as you were mentioning. The line followed with the idea of d5, queen a1, d5, and white has decided to pick up the a5 pawn.
Yeah, he takes the a5 pawn. To be honest, I'm not that impressed by this choice. I mean, I feel that after d takes e4, just playing for compensation, black should be fine. On the other hand, maybe Eric didn't find a convincing way, you know, how to deal with, and said, okay, pawn is the pawn. Let black prove that he will hold this. But I do believe that it's kind of fine for black. I mean, black's position is now very harmonious.
So bishop e4, rook e4, and it's equal material. The d4 is a little weak, the b2 is a little weak, but it really just depends how quickly white is able to get the b pawn moving. The knight coming to d5, as you're pointing out, gives black enough compensation. And yes, so this is going to be an interesting fight, Peter, because white has an extra pawn, black has compensation. We'll come back to this. Let's go to the Anish Magnus board. Magnus has made so much progress with his play on the queen side. The pawns have all rolled down. The f file is open. While it looks like Anish has taken a bit of a passive stance in the game.
Well, let's return to this moment, yeah, where we left off. h6, bishop f6, knight f1. How did Magnus react? He played knight d4. Okay, this is a very, very direct approach, using the momentum that white still did not play c3. The bishop on b3 is not stable, challenging it, and after knight takes d4, e takes d4 even. Yeah, the knight is not able to reach the desired d5 square. Yeah, Magnus was in time to occupy to cover the e3 square, and c5, c4 is hanging in the air. So what happened? Bishop d5, of course, you cannot allow black to shut down the bishop. Bishop d5, c4, b3, bishop e6, of course, very natural, takes. Knight d2, c3. Okay, this is a very, very important moment, because strategically, when I saw this position, it was so difficult for me to decide that what is better. Do you play c3? Do you want to play c3? Because after this, the position is completely locked on the queen side, and one could argue that in long term, this white knight might be more powerful than this bishop on f6. On the other hand, black has the space advantage. So it's rook a8, queen e2, e5 on the board. This is typical that you play e5, and I mean, complete blockade. Complete blockade. Probably it's fine for black, but still. And
probably black can just try and trade off both the rooks as well, because at the end of it's a queen pawn situation, then you can put pressure on the c2 pawn. For example, a move like rook a1, queen b7, rook a8, or maybe start with queen b7 and trade off both pairs of rooks.
Well, that's exactly why I suddenly was silent, that I'm not sure that, for example, whom does it benefit? Because if we trade off all rooks, then maybe I will just play g3, king g2, go knight h2, and I try to, because then somehow okay, let's make some moves. So rook a, what is it?
Rook. Well, it's actually white.
Yeah,
move.
black
He played
move.
E5.
I mean, white to move. Okay, for example, if I play g3, I feel like black would not like to trade all rooks, because, for example, if you trade, you go rook a8. For example, yeah, I don't have to trade. Of course, I can also play queen d1. We just now speculate about takes, and I move my knight, and I prepare f4, and I prepare knight g4. I might start, playing a completely risk-free game, because my queen protects my only weakness, and slowly I'm advancing on the king side. I feel
that. Are you
that.
not worried about bishop g5 in that position? Well, I mean, e5, g3, as you're pointing out, that's the plan that Anish decides to go for. And rook a7, so he wants to double up on the a file.
Yeah, I think that this is very, very logical and very correct for Magnus, that he wants to keep one pair of rooks, because then after rook a8, rook a7, black rook can invade to a2 and put real pressure on the c2 pawn. But even that is not obligatory. Actually, I would prefer to, maybe in a blitz game, I would prefer to be white, but I cannot objectively evaluate the position. It's more about, h4, stopping any kind of bishop g5s.
Bishop g5, bishop d2. I think that's an important move to stop the bishop from getting activated. Peter, we'll come back to this. Very interesting position on the Levon Esipienko board. Another super important game for our standing. So let's get an update on that. I have a feeling some sacrifices have happened. Rook takes f3 was definitely a sacrifice to blow up the pawn structure. What is your first impression when you look at the board?
Well, very first impression is that black has compensation. And now look at this after bishop c1. According to engine, black is completely winning. I mean, hang on. There are all kinds of d3. Isn't d3 just winning on the spot? Yeah, so d3 wins on the spot.
You have to go queen d2, right? You can't take queen d3 because
yeah, but
f2
then
is
knight
hanging.
c4. It's over. Yeah, d3 and it's over.
Oh, wow.
And look at this. Andre cannot believe, that he has this incredible chance. He's enjoying himself.
He's not going to miss this. He's not going to miss this.
He's double, triple checking. I think he already seen the move d3. That's what I'm getting from his body language.
Peter, let's have this line on the board. Let's just show what you're talking about.
It's on the board already. d3 is played.
So the point is that queen d3, your f2 is
hanging. And Levon resigns. Yeah, Levon resigns immediately.
Unbelievable.
What a blunder, yeah.
And queen d2, the only square to keep f2 under control. As Peter, you were saying, knight c4. Now there are no good squares, and f2 falls and everything falls. And this was a very quick win for Andrei Esipienko. Peter, this means Levon is out.
Yeah, Levon, I think, is out. Basically, he needs an incredible miracle, but somehow it's very hard to imagine. But Andrei is definitely qualified. I mean, congratulations for Andrei first of all, for this incredible victory. I mean, when do you beat Levon Aronyan in 20 moves with the black pieces? At all, how do you beat Levon? That's already a big question. But yeah, here this strategy, I think this whole knight g4, this whole idea of knight g4, rook e2, knight a5, bishop c2, f5, this balanced Levon completely, because this is completely new. As I said, usually you think like when black has played this slow little move h6, then already all this knight g4, f5 will never work. But this had psychological effect, and he got the initiative. Bishop f5, rook e1 takes, rook e takes d4 first. Bishop takes h6. Yeah, Levon is paying a very, very high price for playing bishop takes h6. If he would have taken back with the knight on d4, he has a very solid position. I mean, black is perfectly fine, but everything to play for. But after bishop h6, it got countered by rook f3, g f3, queen h4. And, I have the feeling that maybe already Levon felt that he's lost here, because it looks terrible. The bishop has nowhere to go. Black has destroyed white's pawn structure. And according to computer, there was some move for white to keep the balance. I mean, there was no...
Is queen g6 a move here? To just give up the bishop and go rook e8?
Yeah, but I mean, it should be strategically. I mean, I just take and this is lost. I mean, there should be some computer move which escaped the attention of Levon, but definitely the position looks awful. Yeah, it's really awful.
Yeah, now bishop c1, d3 was game over. But Peter, actually, there's still hope for Levon. It's not completely over. Levon will still get through if Anish, Ding, and Nodibek don't win their games. So it's there's still some chances. We'll keep an eye out on the other results, but right now things looking bleak for Lev and Magnus. Anish, a big game, not only now for Anish but for Lev as well.
Yeah, and look at this. This is some incredible fight. I mean, I cannot change from this game. I mean, let's take a look how it happened, because this is an incredible strategical heavyweight fight. So h4, rook f8 on the board. I mean, happened takes, rook d1, small little move, but making sure that he gets knight e1, protecting the c2 pawn and opening up the way for the queen. Queen d7, covering the g4 square. King g2, and now Magnus starts his king march. Yeah, very, very instructive that he feels like his king on g8 might be long terms in trouble. And now he starts an incredible king march. Queen a7, stopping any kind of rook a1, very, very important. Yeah. Queen g4, king d8, queen e6 enters, queen d7 back. White, of course, keeps the queens. Queen g8, king c7, and b4, super important move. Also kicking away the rook. The queen is covering the rook on a2. So rook a2 returned, and now white activates the knight. Knight f3, king b7 on the board. I mean, how do we evaluate this? I mean, I'm loving white's position. I'm loving white's position because look at this bishop on f6. That's what I've been talking about, that this knight in long terms can be so much more better. But what do you do?
I just hope he doesn't go for a repetition here, Anish. I think he has to keep trying this position.
Yeah, he will try. The only problem is that he's heavily behind on the clock. That's his big problem. But
6.5 minutes. I mean, he's got to keep the queens on the board, but what's a good square as well? Or does he just trade here? Can he actually go for the trade? But I feel that with this b4 c2 weakness, you don't want to go for a queen trade.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, you have to keep the queen. After all, your king is much safer. Yeah, the king on g2 is wonderful. Black's king on b7 is vulnerable. Black is lacking some coordination, and the problem is, yeah, that this bishop on f6 doing nothing. Yeah, if you play queen e7, then already queen d5 check will be really unpleasant.
And also queen e6, it stops the move rook a2. It's controlling the a2 square, so black doesn't have a way to come into the second rank also. So queen e6, a nice spot for the queen. Rook a6, defending the d6 square, at least freeing the black queen a little bit.
Yeah,
Peter, we will of course come back to this. I really want to go to the Ding Liren against Kostyuk board. Ding has to win to make his way into the knockouts. But for Lev fans, they might be hoping for another result. But I have to say, this looks like white is an extra pawn. It doesn't feel like it's enough compensation for Alexandra.
No, it basically looks almost resignable, because rook d7 is threatened as well to kick the queen away. Looks like a very smooth, easy win for Ding, and then his qualification chances are still intact. Yeah. Yes, it looks like he will win this. Yeah, rook d8, trying to put some pressure on the d4 pawn, but I mean, f4 pawn it's just a terrible position. I mean, white is better and has material advantage.
All right, so things looking good for Ding. Eric, Vincent, but before that, take a look, take this in. These are our 16 players. Might be the last time that we're seeing all of them on the screen together. Everyone completely focused. Such a critical game for some of them. We see Levon still on his screen, even though his game is over. But a very important moment for Lev. He's lost his game, but he still has hope. It depends on the other players, and undoubtedly he's checking out the game, seeing what the chances are like, or might even be analyzing his own game, because this bishop h6, rook f3 was indeed a very unfortunate way to end the preliminaries for Lev, who, for the most part of it, was always in the mix to make it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and okay, look at this. It also seems like Hans Niemann holds this position against Lek Wangliam. Okay, still he needs to be careful. Queen takes d4 is taken, queen f7. He will be pawned down, but doable. However, okay, with queen and rook, I mean, black needs to trade the queens to claim that this is a completely drawn position.
Yeah, but this I can't imagine Hans not being able to hold this one.
G3, queen f8, he gonna go queen f8, queen a2.
Queen
At
f8,
least-
queen a2.
At least he kicks the queen away, but okay, white keeps the game going with queen a2.
All right, so this one, well, Liam is a pawn up, but far from an advantage which he can claim is close to winning. We'll keep an eye out on this one. Esipienko has won against Levon. Magnus and Anish has ended in a draw, Peter. Peter, do you think this was a little premature for Anish after rook a6? They just repeated.
Well, I think, no, after rook a6, he tried knight h2. And then after queen c8, somehow Magnus was in time to keep on harassing this queen. Queen f7, queen c7, queen e6, queen c8. But I'm still little bit surprised that he didn't just move somehow queen g8 or, okay, queen g8 is still met by queen c8. Where do you hide this queen? That's the problem. Only with queen b3, but he did not want to box his queen in. With queen b3, I understand psychologically, but I mean, basically, draw means probably elimination, right? For Anish, or does he have a chance?
Not clear at all. It depends on other results, but Anish and Lev are on the same points. I'm going to get a confirmation from our producer on the tie breaks and how it works when players end with the same score. We'll find that and update you shortly. But yeah, Anish ends with a draw. So let's take a look at the Vincent Eric board, Peter, a major matchup for the standings.
Yeah, but it pretty much looks like a dead draw. I mean, unless someone suicides here, things like I need to win at all cost. But I don't think that, I mean, okay, if the position is draw, you have to take the draw. I mean, if you have a chance, you have to fight. But after G3, knight coming to E3, I think black should also just say like, okay, I'm going to push H5. For example, okay, H5, and after knight E3, I'm coming with the king. And after d5, I'm going to go something like bishop c5 and agree to a draw. Just take everything. I think Vincent needs to take this decision, yeah, and then see what happens. Because after all, we are talking about even Levon, who is losing, still having some chances. Then if Vincent makes a draw, then his chances are clearly superior to Levon's. Jan Nepomniachtchi is in a lot of trouble, and I feel a little bit sad for Duda because I'm seeing that he's playing wonderful chess today. He might be winning 3 out of 3 today, but it might still not be enough, yeah, because he had such a horrendous start. Yeah,
it's too little too late for Jan-Krzysztof Duda. Jan's already in, as you're pointing out, that Duda in a winning position. He's got an extra pawn, a dominating knight on d5, a strong rook on c6, but winning does not really help his situation. Peter, because Ding Liren's game is so important for some of the other players, let's take a look at his situation against Kostanevich. If Ding wins this, then he leapfrogs Anish and Levon in the standings and actually gets a spot in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, look at this incredible construction. I mean, knight on e5, knight on e4, rook on c7, queen c2. The pawns beautifully protecting the knights, guarding the king, and white being pawn up. I perfectly agree with the computer evaluation that white is just completely winning. There is no way Ding not winning this. And this is then very, very good news for him. This also brings me to the fact that what is happening with Abdusattorov, because Abdusattorov needs to win, but he seems to be losing against Shakhriyar. And again, all the guys on the bottom started to score the points.
Yeah.
And this will be bad news for Nodirbek and his fans.
100%. Nodirbek needs to win this game. A draw is not enough. And as you're pointing out, it's a tough position. But Peter, the reason for that is simply because Black's king is all boxed up on f8. Rook b8 threats. The rook on c4 is attacked. And as you said, the guys who were at the bottom of the table are playing major spoilers in this round. And we've got a result already. Ding Liren has won against Kostanevich. With this win, Ding confirms his spot in the quarterfinals. A very well-deserved spot, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody is rooting for him, knowing in which condition he is with all this time difference. Knight f6 check, a very nice way of devaluing checkmate, but of course the position was already completely winning. So good news there for Chinese fans and for Ding Liren's fans. Abdusattorov tries to fight on with a stunning rook sacrifice. After bishop d5, there was no other way to survive the mate, to go rook e4, but after bishop e4, knight fe4, still a bit tricky because the rook on b2 is hanging and the knight on e7 is hanging. However, Shakriya plays the move rook c2, using the fact that after king e7, rook takes c5 wins on the spot due to the pin. And after bishop d4, okay, these are two pieces. I mean, two exchange up.
Yeah.
Two exchange up, it should be technically winning for Mamedyarov.
All right, and let's get an update on the Liam board, another board which is important. Queen g4, well, he's tried to make some progress. Queens are still on the board. He's managed to get the pawn on h5, so really put pressure, clamping down Black's king side. But of course, it's still very difficult to break through, Peter. What's your evaluation? Do you think this is closer to a draw, or can Liam create real chances here?
Well, I think that it's fair to say that it's closer to draw than to a win. So it's not 50-50, but it's not a dead draw. It's still, there are chances. The only good news for Hans basically is that he's way up on the clock. Yeah, this is very comfortable. I mean, if you have to defend, for example, down to few seconds, it would be very scary. But with 9.5 minutes, and knowing that if you don't blunder anything, it should be a draw, then I think it's managed. If he manages to trade queens, and now with queen c6 he's hinting at queen h1 checkmate, so white of course needs to be careful.
The first feeling after queen c6 was, wait a minute, rook f7 threatened mate, but then it's so easy to miss queen h1 when you don't have time.
Yeah, and then the big question is like, do you have a better move than king h2? But after king h2, rook e1 can come. Yeah, it's maybe Leko Liam wants to play fc, and he goes fc, but this is already making his king very, very vulnerable in long terms.
Well, the good news is that the queen from c6 can't jump to c1 because queen g6 would pick up the e8 rook. So the queen is still tied down to the defense of the g6 square. And if you make a move like rook e6, then the idea of rook f7 jumping to threaten a mate, which, you know, will create, actually that's just lost for black, is not easy for black to free that queen from c6 then.
Yes, so basically we are expecting probably some move like rook e7, yeah, protecting against rook f7, and saying, okay, how you want to make progress, yeah, because every queen trade is fine. So for example, rook e7, if you go rook f8 with the idea queen f5, black will immediately play the move queen e6, forcing you back to play rook f5. Important to mention that with pawn g7, h6, any kind of queen trade 3 versus 2 is a dead draw. There is nothing to be afraid of white's advanced pawn on h5. It's already way too little material. So I don't see the ideas how to win, but of course, Leko Liam is also a master of basically keeping the tension, seemingly doing nothing, but putting the pressure on the opponent, playing on his nerves. And if you can, for example, keep the game going for another 30, 40 moves, then maybe at some point your opponent might collapse. But with so much time on the clock, I'm not expecting it to happen.
And I think that's the key point, that Hans just has got 8 minutes, and that is more than enough for him to keep things under control. White has done everything desirable in the position. The pawn on h5, queen g4, rook f5. It's everything that he wants, but very hard to break through with more. Peter, quick update on the Shak Nordebek board. Is this just game over now? I think it is, because it's a full exchange down, no compensation, and probably expecting a resignation soon.
Well, knowing Nordebek's fighting spirit, no, there will be no resignation, but yeah, the position is completely lost.
Let's just point out that bishop g3 was impossible because bishop g3, king f3, f5, but you're giving rook e4 and f5, you take rook e4. Yeah, that's the line.
Yeah,
so
yeah, you start with rook c4 and then f5 runs into rook e4. So yeah, that was the only tricky spot that you should not, yeah, and this is what we are kind of expected after rook c2, bishop d4, knight d5, bishop f2 takes, and king g2 was the last finesse. And if black has to return and then white starts advancing, then it's just matter of time till white wins. There is no intrigue here. What do we have? Do we have some
Vincent against Hansen, h3 on the board. So the idea is that if black grabs that pawn, white gets rook h1 and picks up the h3 pawn, and we have a lot of trades. h4 is nice because now gh4, then h2. You don't want to allow that.
Yes, Vincent is trying everything to get something out of this drawish position. Yeah, he is an incredible fighter. He simply hates draws. I mean, he likes to battle everything out till the very, very end. But it seems like white should just hold by hitting on h3. I mean, rook h3, hg, fg, and rook h6 coming. Of course, black will play king g5. So Vincent is kind of maybe would try that position. However, maybe after rook h3, hg, there is an intermediate check on h6. Might be important.
G5, rook e6, yeah.
But hang on, king, yeah, this and rook e6. Do I have? No, I don't have rook e3 because rook e3 you have f e3. Otherwise, after rook takes e3, g2 would queen.
Oh,
yeah,
this is super nice.
yeah,
But
but you can
F2.
take fe and after g2 king f2 and you win. So of course, this is wishful thinking. In any case, h4 is kind of a disturbing move for white, yeah, because you have to calculate things.
No, it's really ambitious play from Vincent to go for h4. And what you're talking about, that it feels like it's a little more equal for black than it is for white. Rook h3, taking on g3 and fg3, even though the material is equal, but we see white has got two weak pawns, and that might actually be something. At least he's going to continue fighting for this one. We'll see how Eric responds. He's slowed down, both players down to about 2 minutes on the clock. Peter, let's get an update on the Artemiev board. I know it's not important, but I think that one might be. Is it just completely winning for white? Because f7 is dropping. No, your rook on f8 is attacked.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it seems like, yeah, not important already for the results, but a very big win for Prague is about to happen again. Yeah, it's...
That's amazing.
I just can't see... I mean, basically now you go rook b7 and you force resignation. Yeah, rook b8 is a threat. And that's it.
And that's it. And Prague immediately finds it. King h7 runs into rook f7 and it's game over. Artemiev resigns. Pragnananda might not be in, but what a star performance in this tournament. Peter, the 16-year-old, beat Levon Aronian. He beat Magnus Carlsen and now Artemiev Vladislav.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm so happy for all the youngsters getting this chance. And we immediately, I think they make the whole tournament, the whole tour incredibly colorful. New heroes to cheer for. And also one can see that it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time when they will bounce into the complete elite. Yeah, they have the talent. They have the right attitude as well. I just, you know, I love all these kids because you can feel the incredible devotion for chess. They are burning. They are also treating chess with a lot of respect. There are no star allures from the players. I mean, they are very well grounded on their foot. They know that the other guys are very strong, and in order to catch them, they have to be incredibly strong themselves, and that requires dedication and incredible amount of work. And they are willing to invest that. I'm just loving these kids.
This is just amazing stuff. All right, so now this one, like you mentioned, this is all over, but Artemiev is still into the quarterfinals. Let's go back to take a look at how Duda versus Jan Nepomniachtchi. But is this still as winning as when we left it last?
Yeah, it was winning, but now I wonder if finally Jan will save one losing position. Yeah, because he has spoiled so many winning positions. I think it would be fair and justice for him if finally the only losing position that he gets, he survives. Knight e8 check. Very, very bizarre structure, right? I mean, when do you see white's knight and rook behind enemy lines? Yeah, it's this black rook on c5 is wonderfully placed. Yeah, the king on d2 is cut. Oops. The king on d2 is cut out of the game because the pawn on e5 and rook on c5 is this typical construction of, you know, protecting against the king advance. The question is, how do you activate this knight? Yeah, king e7 nice, because black wants to go knight e6, knight d4. That would be a dream scenario.
And if you go c7, then there's always...
Yeah, c7 threatens nothing. Then you just go knight e6 and you are very, very happy.
Mm-hmm.
So knight c7. Yeah,
and
had
what's
to
the
be
trick
played.
after rook c6? You want to go knight d5 check, king d7 would pick up the knight on f8. Nice.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be, of course, the winning idea. Now the big question is, what is it? Can black play the move king d6? Is it possible? Because you have some tricks like knight a6 and rook c6, rook takes f8, and then some rook f6 check.
Oh wow, that's a really nice trick, no?
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, king d6 on the board, but after knight a6 I also have rook a5. That might be the saving move. Rook a5. Stunning.
Peter, let's just show that line one more time, the one that you're talking about, that if you take rook c6 here, rook f8, rook a6, rook f6 check, who wins the rook at the end of the line?
Yes, that's the trick. And Duda goes back 98, check king e7, but I'm still expecting him to try this knight a6 trick, because this is kind of the only thing how he can.
He's down to 8 seconds on the clock. Knight
Yeah,
c7.
yeah, he
king
returns
g6.
knight c7 and he's gonna go knight a6 now. That's what I'm expecting.
Meanwhile,
Six.
Lei Kwang Liam has gone into a rook pawn ending, and that's it. We have a repetition here. Jan-Krzysztof Duda ends the tournament. Well, he had a good performance today, ends it by drawing against Jan Nepomniachtchi, but it's not enough for Duda. It's the end of the road for him. Nepomniachtchi goes through. Peter, let's jump back to Lei Kwang Liam Hans game. This one, a complete draw.
Yes, this is a complete draw. Basically, there is no intrigue at all. This is not dead draw. And what about the Vincent's game?
Vincent has managed to win a pawn. It might still be a draw, but his ambitious play has at least gotten him a pawn.
Yeah, but okay, bishop e5 will be played. However, okay, this looks like a dead draw, but in any case, it seems like a draw suffices for Vincent to qualify, right? That's what I'm getting.
If he does draw this game, then Vincent and Eric will both go through. We'll, of course, have a confirmation on it. But looking at the way things have gone, I think Vincent is safe with the draw. And this position, it looks like, well, that will be the most probable outcome. Peter, that's our only game remaining, actually.
Well, and the Lek Wang
And the
Liam's
Hans.
game, but okay,
Yeah.
basically, I feel that there is more intrigue here than in the other one. Of course, yeah, it's a dead draw position, but the question is, can Vincent somehow force this rook bishop versus rook? Yeah, that's the dream scenario. However, now rook a7 was very nice. King g6 is met by knight f4 check, and white has exactly this construction that you cannot hide your king. And if you have to trade on f4, then of course it's elemental draw, just as in the Lek Wang Liam game.
Why are you saying that black can't hide the king in this position? Can you explain that to us?
I mean, because king f6 runs into rook a6 check. And,
So you
and
can't
then,
come to g5 ever because of knight e6.
yes. And Vincent down to 3 seconds, he goes king f6. Oh my God, not that he, by trying to win, he runs into some fork. That would be terrible. Yeah.
So
Okay,
I'm getting an update, Peter. He's very, very safe with a draw. And he's
exactly, but he
repeating it.
doesn't know it. Okay, hopefully, just
He's
repeat
doing it.
it.
He's doing it. It's done, Peter. It's done almost.
Just repeat it. Just king f6. No need for no bishops, of course. No,
Oh my
Vincent
God.
will never. And first of all, he doesn't know that draw is enough. But luckily, even if you want, you cannot lose unless you fork your rook. Yeah, that's.
But Peter, what is giving you all this anxiety right now is exactly the reason that you're so proud of Vincent, is his fighting spirit.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I know Vincent. Yeah, because sometimes holding him down. That okay. I mean, you don't have to win all the games. You have to play good. If you have the chance, yes, do it. But if you need to do some completely crazy things for no reason, then you don't have to. Yeah, it's you also have to appreciate the draw. Yeah, if your opponent plays good, you have to treat the opponent with respect. Yeah, if he plays good, he deserves the draw. Now the good thing is there are no forks anymore. So now I'm completely quiet, and also Eric is happy. Eric also deserves with his incredible performance to qualify, and I think also it's absolutely fair that Vincent will also qualify because he played fantastically.
This is amazing stuff. And what about the Hans game? Well, it's still on. Lei Kwang Liam is still.
Yeah, and it's
fighting.
draw. It's official. It's draw. Vincent drew. Okay, very well. It's perfect, wonderful. And this game is also about to end. It's also draw. Lek Wang Liam qualifies as well, I believe.
Amazing stuff. Congratulations, Peter. I think it's just one can see the excitement, and of course a big moment for Vincent to make it through to the quarterfinals of his first event of the Champions Chess Tour. Lei Kwang Liam drawing his game against Hans. Hans managed to hold this one. Hans is out, but Lei Kwang Liam is in. But I'm going to get a confirmation on that. That's what it seems like. With this, Peter, we come to an end of all our games. We've had 4 decisive games. What a preliminary this was.
Absolutely. I mean, so many ups and downs, and the incredible fighting spirit all around the place. And of course, with this 3 points for a win system, everything is so unpredictable, so crazy. Nobody is safe. Magnus showing his class on the last day and finally making it a relatively smooth ride, but it wasn't easy for him as well. I mean, he had so many dangerous moments throughout these preliminaries that I think he's very, very happy and relieved that he survived.
Absolutely. I think this has been just probably the most exciting preliminaries we've commented on, Peter, with the kind of ups and downs and the turns around we've seen and all the debutants, the chess they've shown. The youngsters, I mean, they come in with an ambition, with hunger and their fighting spirit, just creating upset after upset. It's not been easy for anyone. And I think we're going to have our standings up really soon. And let's take a look at who are the top 8 who have made it through. And we're just checking, we're just making sure and getting a confirmation. We should have that in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, oof. I mean, I'm speechless. Yeah, there was so much tension. Yeah, there was so much tension because I felt like Vincent is so close, and then he lost to Leko this game. And then, okay, I knew that it's nerve-wracking. I mean, anything can happen. He was in the middle of this pack from 5th place till 9th or 10th. Anything can happen. Everybody had their chance. Incredible performance from him and from all the guys who qualified, and also those who didn't. I mean, I feel like, I also feel very sorry for people like Duda Mamedjadov, who finally the last day one could really see that they get the flow. Yeah, they got the flow, and if there would be one more day, then maybe they would still have chance to fight as well for qualification.
Well, not just them, Peter, it's a brutal format, because take a look at the players who did not make it. Not just Shakhriyar Mamedjadov, Jan-Krzysztof, Duda, 2 big favorites, but also Anish Giri, Levon Aronian did not make it to the knockouts, are out of the tournament. And this is where our standings are. Let's just bring that. These are our brackets, but let's just bring our screen one more time on the standings, finishing the preliminaries. And it's Jan Nepomniachtchi who leads the table at the end of the qualifiers. Magnus Carlsen finishes 2nd. Vladislav Artemiev lost the last game to Prague. He's still on 3rd position. A brilliant tournament, a brilliant debut by Andrei Asipenko, by Eric Hansen, and Vincent Keymer finished 8th. Tinglerin, Leko Angliem also in. Some big heavy favorites are out. And let's bring up our brackets, because yes, it feels like the tournament's over, but in fact, it's actually just started as we go into the quarterfinal stage of the Airthings Masters. Peter, we've got Vincent with us in the studio, so let's hear it from him.
The whole day, last day, I played horrible and lost more or less all the important games. And today, I didn't play too good, but at least, 2 draws is more or less all right, I guess.
And Vincent, congratulations. Now it looks like you go through to play Jan Nepomniachtchi, who won the preliminary stage. What's your preparation going to be like for that matchup?
Yeah, okay. I guess it's really hard to prepare against him. I mean, he's had this World Championship match, which means that he is prepared really much and really also on a high level. And this is never easy to face. But yeah, okay, I will do my best.
And how does a match format like tomorrow fit you with the 2 white games, 2 black games, possible tie breaks?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, I mean, everyone knows that Nepo is usually playing really fast. Whether this means that Blitz is better or not, I'm not so sure. Yeah, I guess it's hard for both of us. I also know that matches are really tricky. I've had this experience myself, that sometimes you feel like you actually should be the better player, but still it's really hard to play the match because something in the opening goes wrong, and usually you don't have time during the match to fix this, so it can be really important then.
And this must be a big day for all your German fans as well. Have you noticed any interest from them and them cheering you on to make it to the quarterfinals?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, of course, this is something I'm not sure anyone has really expected. At least I didn't. And this is something I'm really happy. Of course, everyone who plays this tournament somehow has this goal of reaching the top 8 and qualifying, but this is not, I didn't really consider it to be very realistic. Yeah.
We're so happy for you, though, and we wish you best of luck in quarterfinals tomorrow, Vincent.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. And we're also joined by someone else who is ready for quarterfinals. Is Eric Hansen. Big congratulations, Eric.
Thank you. I'm not sure I would say I'm ready for the quarterfinals, but I'm happy to be there.
What has today been like with nerves and everything going on?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. I was very nervous. The good thing was I start off with a really nice game against Nepo. Just got one of those. I converted a good position, which I've struggled with this tournament, and that made things a lot easier because I knew that coming into today, 3 points might not be enough. So 3 draws, let's say, might not be enough, even with +2. But a win and a draw, something like 4 points should probably be good enough. And getting 3 off the bat was really nice. Gave me a lot of confidence. But then, as you saw, it went straight down because Alexandra crushed me. And I had a feeling that was going to happen because she had a pretty unlucky run. I mean, she's a strong player and capable of beating quite a few players in this field, and got me in the opening, and it happened to be me. And so it ended up being just a final round. Everything came down to the final round, and I was so nervous.
Ooh. Were you aware, sort of, when that game against Vincent, got to the later parts of it, that a draw was enough for you? Were you following the other results?
Yeah, I asked for a scoreboard to see how the other games were during the round, and once I had that, a couple of results came in. Anish drew. I knew that Ding couldn't catch up, and Levon lost. So already 3 players were, as soon as those 3 results came in, I knew I was qualified. If my math is correct, none of them could get past me. And there was 11 people going for 8 spots. So as soon as that happened, which was like halfway through the game, I was pretty sure I was in, so I was comfortable. But Vincent was squeezing the position, and I was still at the back of my mind, like, if I lose this and somehow I miscalculated the qualifications, this is a nightmare.
Yeah. And now you have, what, like 20 hours before the quarterfinals start. It looks like you're going to face Andrei Esipenko in the quarterfinals. So what will you now do before that starts?
I'm doing the same routine pretty much every day. Last time you guys interviewed me, I said I was like watching hockey or going to see a movie. The movie we saw was terrible, so I'm going back to hockey every night. And just relaxing. I'm just taking it a day at a time because everything pretty much since the first day has been a bonus. Because I already did better on the first day than my entire last tournament. So it's been a lot easier to play because there hasn't been much pressure coming into the tournament. I don't think anybody had pressure on me. I was a wild card, and I'm relatively inactive. So I'm excited. The game I played against Andre yesterday was pretty exciting. We're both really nervous there. It was a very sharp game. So I think that should be a good one. It's only yesterday was the first time I played him. So this will be, he's a player that I'm unfamiliar with. Most of these younger players, I'm closer to the Magnus generation, much closer. So I don't know most of these players too well, except that they're very good. And so I'll check what he's up to, but it should be a good one.
And how does the match situation, the format's shifting completely till tomorrow now, 4 games and then possible tie breaks, how does that suit you?
Yeah, in Canada, we don't really do matches. So I almost have 0 match experience in my life, except a couple of World Cups that were just 2 games, didn't make it. So I'm excited to get some match experience in. I haven't done a rapid match like this. I guess I even have to look at the regulations. I honestly didn't look at the quarterfinal section of the tournament invitation. I have no idea the rules, the time control, anything, because I was just going to take it day by day with the preliminaries. So I have to reset myself now.
It's same time control, but 4 games and then possible tie breaks with Blitz and Armageddon if you are tied. Okay. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Good. Yeah, and I see you with your Canada sweater. What does this mean to you and all your fans in Canada, and of course Chessbra fans as well? You all must be just bursting with joy.
Yeah, I mean, my parents don't play chess, and they don't know much about it, but they've been able to follow your guys' broadcast because it's very accessible, and they're able to see that I actually, won a game of chess for once and had some good results. So it's kind of cool to have some family tune in, some friends that I haven't heard from in a while have been following this event. And yeah, it's been a bit of a dream. I'm still taking it in, but the support's been awesome. I think in our channel, shout out to the channel, Amon's doing coverage. There's been a lot of viewers, a lot of encouraging comments, a lot of people sliding into my DMs, no complaints about that. So yeah, it's been really good.
Fantastic. We're so happy for you, Eric, and all your fans, and thank you for all the fighting chess as well. We really look forward to the quarterfinals with you tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I like coming on, so no matter what happens tomorrow, if you want to interview me, I'm around. This has been very fun.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you, and best of luck tomorrow. We hope you have fun as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Eric Hansen, the wild card or the underdog, making it through to the quarterfinals with some fantastic fighting chess. All right, well, that was it for the preliminaries, but the knockout stage is coming up.
Congratulations to Eric Hansen and Vincent Keymer, both debutants of the tour who've made it, including Andrei Asipenko as well. What a start they've had in their journey at the Champions Chess Tour. I think we've got a bracket up as well for quarterfinals, Peter. Let's take a look at the action that we've got coming up. And you know what my first question is going to be.
I think I know, yeah.
All right, it's Jan-Krzysztof taking on Vincent Keymer. Let's get to it. Peter, your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, well, my thoughts are that I would have loved to enjoy this moment so much. Yeah, that, okay, Vincent qualified. I mean, Jan's qualification was never in any danger. He was playing brilliantly, collecting all the points, and had a very easy run. Vincent's journey was completely different. He played basically the tournament of his life and managed to qualify. So I'm super happy. However, that they face each other. I mean, okay, on one side, I can at least relax and I don't have to be involved in the preparation. Yeah, I can only encourage both of them. Yeah, try to prepare as good as you can. At the same time, they also need to rest because, okay, this is a nerve-wracking tournament, this whole preliminaries and other matches. But in my heart, you know, this will be incredibly difficult. I mean, I would have preferred not to sleep and have them prepare one of them or both of them for other matches. But now I will have a sleepless night for other reasons. Yeah, because I will just not be able to calm down. I will be rooting for both of them.
Oh, wow. Tough spot, Peter. I don't know how you're going to keep your calm tomorrow, but it's going to be an exciting matchup. Of course, Vincent facing Jan, a big one for Vincent. Let's see how he does. Eric Hansen plays Andrei Asipenko. Again, both debutants playing against each other in the quarterfinals. Going to be interesting to see how that goes. Eric, of course, started off as the second lowest rated player in the event, and he's made it through. And we had an amazing interview with him. He just seems like such a happy guy, and he just showed he might be a happy guy, but he's also super strong in this format and over the board. Let's have our bracket up one more time. And the other matchup that we have is Vladislav Artemiev up against Ding Liren. Now, those are two heavyweights, two players. It's hard to predict anything. No big favorite in this one. So another very interesting matchup. And of course, Magnus Carlsen takes on Leko Tania. Peter, your thoughts on the bracket that we have in front of us?
Yeah, well, it's super exciting. I mean, Artemiev against Ding Liren, clearly so-called two heavyweights, but also clash of styles. Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how Ding Liren will try to, you know, use his superiority in the openings. Yeah, if he can get his wheel on Vladislav, then it can be a very, very tough match on Artemiev. On the other hand, we know exactly that, okay, Ding Liren is handicapped with all these time zone issues and playing night. So if Artemiev gets his type of positions and he can play these long games, yeah, where his strategical skills and keep on playing the games can be really unpleasant for Ding. So I feel like the big question is who gets his wheel in the openings. That might get the upper hand. And we have seen Leko Tania bouncing back. I mean, who have thought that Leko Tania has a real chance in the last 2 days, but he started playing phenomenally. And he actually made it quite easily. At the end, he was even clearly better against Hans. He had chances. The game ended the draw, and nevertheless, he easily qualified. So he's in high tone. On the other hand, we know that when finally Magnus settles in, yeah, it's the match routine. He knows whom he is facing, and he can really prepare or target him. We do hear that he's resting, he's watching football, and then you might get the feeling that Magnus is not really preparing. But on the other hand, he always comes with a clear strategy, and we have seen from Magnus always that if he gets the white pieces, if he has the chance to choose the white pieces, then he tries to target his opponent in the very, very first game and set the tone for the match. will be very, very exciting. Eric Hansen against Andrei Yesipenko. Also very interesting. You remember this crazy game, this crazy Spanish Chigorin that they played against each other with the exchange up and then this craziness? I think that's what kind of fight we will see between them as well in the matches.
I think on all the boards, we're going to have an exceptional fight. And the one big difference this time in the tour is that there are no second chances in the knockout stages. We just have 1 day of a mini match between the two players. They're going to play 4 rapid games against each other and with a 15 minutes and a 10-second increment, so the same time format. And if it ends in a tie after 4 rapid games, if the score ends in 2-2, we immediately have a playoff of Blitz. And if that's a tie as well, then we go into an Armageddon. So we will have our semi-finalists after tomorrow, a massive day of chess coming up. You've seen the bracket, thrilling action to be expected. Peter, it's been an amazing day and it's been an amazing preliminaries. A big shout out to our audience who's with us. Do like the stream before leaving. It's been fantastic. We'll be back with the quarterfinals tomorrow. See you then.
Yeah, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Airthings.
Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game. And get paired with players from around the world, fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.